Biggest backup, but you've got lane restrictions for eastbound and one of the left turn lanes restricted for southbound traffic. I-15 in Davis County, southbound is just a little bit heavy in Kaysville, and that earlier slowing we had in Riverdale is gone, but some northbound slowing in Ogden between 24th and 21st Street right now. You deserve an elegant night out on the town. Your couch will be there when you get back. Don't miss grand performances at Utah Opera. Get your tickets at utahopera.org. I'm Andy Farnsworth in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, cool and rainy throughout the day with the high only reaching 55 degrees. 56 tomorrow with more rain. Then it dries out and starts warming up on Wednesday. Right now it's 54 degrees at KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com. Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Well, I thought for sure we would be sitting here this morning, Dave, talking about a federal government shutdown, that people who are on women, infant, and children food program, the moms would be worried about how they were going to get money to feed their babies, and our members of the military would be worried about getting their paychecks. It was averted, at least for a few more weeks.
Yeah, after everyone in the media was saying, "Oh, this is inevitable. They can't possibly get something done," and then something got done. This is not the first time this has happened. It won't be the last time. It won't even be the last time this year that we're dealing with this, because this wasn't a solution. This was a pause. It's 9:07. It's time for the launch.
Sequence engaged.
And here are 3 things Debbie wants you to know.
Countdown. 3.
It did all come together in the 11th hour over the weekend, in case you missed it. Good. Lucky you. You didn't have to pay attention to this wildness back in D.C. But we're gonna look at it today, what happened, because Congress actually cobbled together a short-term funding bill that stopped the government shutdown.
Today, MAGA extremists have failed, bipartisanship has prevailed, and both parties have come together to avert a shutdown.
Yeah, instead of patting ourselves on the back, instead of cheering, I'd like to make a case, Deb, to you and to my friends that are listening right now, why a government shutdown would have been a good thing.
Countdown. 2.
Well, it's October already, yes. We're almost near the end of the year, but that doesn't matter because right now is the time to reboot student loan payments. We're wondering if President Biden's promise to forgive $10,000 to $20,000 in student loans, which, of course, the Supreme Court of the United States decided is not a legal path to forgive loans. We wonder if that set borrowers back financially, like if they stopped making loan payments hoping the government would swoop in and rescue them. So let me just do some quick math. If you had a $20,000 loan and didn't make a single payment thinking the president was going to save you with his plan, I'll do the math in the 10 o'clock hour. And I think it is a major financial setback for those who counted on Biden.
Yeah, this was one of the worst things that President Biden could have done. We had an incredible thing going on. They paused the interest accrual on the student loans. Most people would have taken advantage of that and just started paying it off. All the money is going directly to principal. That's a great thing. But when the Biden administration came in and said, "Ooh, we're going to forgive these," or at least a portion of these, everybody stopped paying them altogether. It's why it's so important for the government to work properly, to pass laws, and not just do things that can be overturned in the courts. And that's exactly what happened. President Biden tried to do something by executive order. It got overturned by the courts. And now, what could have been a great thing for people with student loans, it turned into a disaster.
Launch countdown. 1.
It sounds like there was a wild scene in North Ogden. We were reporting on it all morning long on Utah's Morning News, where a man ended up telling police he was just trying to make a citizen's arrest. But Dave, envisioned this. I've just read the police report on this. Kid says he's walking home from a skate park, picks up a broken construction sign. He's going to take it home with him. A neighbor sees this and yells, "There won't be stealing in my neighborhood." Police say then went after the kid, pushes the kid, puts him in a chokehold as the boy is trying to call 911. Now the man's in jail on a child abuse charge. And we're wondering, do his citizen's arrest claim, does it have any merit?
Is it a real thing? I mean, I've heard, I'm making a citizen's arrest. Is that a real thing? I'm going to be honest. I don't think it is. Maybe it is. I think it's made up. I think it's an old wives' tale. I think we've just gone along with it for so long. I'm making a citizen's arrest. Maybe I'm wrong. I just don't think it's a thing.
Dave and Dujanovic.
The launch.
Commence.
Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top national story.
Before we answer your question about is citizen's arrest a real thing, let's get to the shutdown. And technically, we've only delayed the possibility of a shutdown. This is another continuing resolution, which bought us about, another 45 days to figure this out. I say us. What I mean is Congress. What do I got to do with it?
The only thing we're guilty of
is
voting in these yahoos that can't figure this out. Like, you like this 45 days is going to solve anything? They had 365 days to do it in the first place. What does an additional 45 days matter? Is Congress all of a sudden going to just start working together, holding hands, getting along? Listen to Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and tell me if this sounds like a guy that is ready to work across the aisle.
And we avoided all of the extreme, nasty, and harmful cuts MAGA Republicans wanted. After trying to take our government hostage, MAGA Republicans won nothing.
All right. Dump the MAGA speak. Work together. This has just worn so many of us down. We're tired of all the panic. I'm checked out in large part because this happens year after year after year, that DC has just done me in on this. Like, figure it out, guys and gals. Get it done.
Yeah, they keep pretending like this whole funding issue is brand new. It happens several times a year. I think there's a lot of the boy who cries wolf thing going on. And I think a lot of Americans, I certainly have tuned out of this kind of push the red button of panic messaging that if we don't get something done, the world's going to end, the government's going to shut down. Well, maybe that's something we need to explore. Maybe that's a good thing.
Really? You're going to give us more on that in just a bit?
Yep.
Okay. I did a little scorecard check-in last night before I went to bed. It was reluctantly that I checked because I just did not want to even talk about this today because I was just hopeful that we wouldn't end up in the same spot. But in Utah, 4 out of the 5, or at least for Utah, 4 out of the 5 members of Utah's delegation voted to avoid the government shutdown. No big surprise here. Senator Mike Lee voting against the resolution. The other one saying, yeah. Now remember, we don't have Chris Stewart back there any longer, so we have an empty seat. But
normally it's 6, but right now we only have
Curtis, 5. Owens, Moore. All voting in favor.
Yep.
Romney voting in favor as well.
Yeah, and Lee says no. Lee, though, I will say this. It may feel like, isn't that guy anti-everything?
Yes, that's immediately what I thought.
Doesn't he vote no to everything?
Everything.
In this case, he has been very consistent. He has consistently voted against continuing resolutions, omnibus packages.
What's his solution?
Well, he wants
out of this.
The reason he always votes no toward this stuff is he wants Congress to do its job. He objects to running the government on continuous resolutions and omnibus bills. He wants regular order. He wants the 12 appropriations bills to be passed every single year instead of just throwing it all together, putting it in a blender, mixing it up, and then spilling it out in thousands and thousands of pages that no one will ever read.
Then why isn't he getting his way? Does he have the clout to get his way? That's another question for another day. Dave just rolled his eyeballs at me when I asked that.
No one person has that clout.
So there's potential trouble on the horizon for House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, who got the job done with bipartisan support. But here's Florida Representative Matt Gaetz on his plans for McCarthy.
And the one thing I agree with my Democrat colleagues on is that for the last 8 months, this House has been poorly led. And we own that, and we have to do something about it. And you know what? my Democrat colleagues will have an opportunity to do something about that too, and we will see if they bail out our failed speaker.
So will Kevin McCarthy lose his job? Did this one vote right here, did this solution to not shut down the government, will this cost him the Speaker of the House?
Dave and Dujanovic. Hey, stay right here for more of Dave and Dujanovic.
And tomorrow morning, come back here for news, traffic updates, and reliable weather.
Join us to have a listen. Tim and Amanda.
Your morning companions for news.
Here's one part of life that doesn't need pumpkin spice.
Pumpkin spice has quite a powerful political lobby.
Breaking news and fall weather updates are all the spice you need. Start with Utah's Morning News with Tim and Amanda from 5 to 9.
Good morning.
Then Dave and Dujanovic, Boyd Matheson, and Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News as you drive home. News, analysis, variety. The spice of life.
So good.
On KSL News Radio.
Hi friends, Dan the Laptop Man here from PC Laptops. I get a lot of emails from people all the time. Here's one. Dear Dan, I hear your talk about a lifetime service guarantee. Free? Really? Please help me avoid all your fine print and be honest about what free means. You understand that we should be very wary of a free offer. Signed, Skeptical. Hi, Skeptical. I remember 22 years ago when we started PC Laptops and our lifetime service guarantee, people thought it was too good to be true. Well, after a decade, people started believing me a little bit. But it's been 22 years of having the privilege to serve our friends and neighbors like you. Our lifetime service guarantee has become the most trusted warranty in the industry. You can get a brand new PC Laptops desktop computer, and they start at only $29 a month. Check us out at PCLaptops.com. That's PCLaptops.com. Here's to seeing you soon, Skeptical.
If it's out of sight, it's out of mind. Even though that's an old adage, it's still very true today. And it's especially true of your old 401k. I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, asking you to get that old 401k in sight and out of the company you no longer work for. But don't roll it into your new 401k. That could be one of the worst things you do. Of course that's easy. But when has the easiest way ever been the best way? Instead, call Trajan Wealth and learn about all of your options, including a way to earn an upfront bonus of up to 25% for your future income just for rolling it over. That's right. You could earn up to a 25% bonus for your retirement income just for rolling that 401k over with Trajan Wealth. Don't roll that 401k into your new company plan. Don't do it without calling Trajan Wealth first. Call 801-899-7600 or visit TrajanWealth.com.
Guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company.
Pelvic congestion syndrome, or pelvic venous congestion, is an important but often overlooked cause of chronic pelvic pain. It's estimated that up to 30% of patients with chronic pelvic pain may actually suffer from a symptomatic pelvic venous disorder. IVC, the leading interventional vascular and vein center in Utah for over 15 years, is here to help. Typical symptoms of pelvic venous congestion include dull achiness and heaviness in the pelvis, often made worse by prolonged standing. Well, it can often be successfully treated with a minimally invasive procedure called embolization. Pelvic venous embolization requires little or no downtime and is performed in an outpatient setting. Nearly 85% of women treated experience significant relief of their symptoms. If you suffer from the symptoms of pelvic venous congestion, let the experts at IVC help. Visit iVein.com for more or call 801-379-6700 today. As IVC has been saying for years, life starts when the pain stops.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. What about those round trips that you plan in advance, which are perfect on your way there and perfect on your way back? Or those meetings with friends for which you make a group chat 3 months before so that nobody or anything is missing? Or your daughter's first birthday party. You planned it with such dedication that instead of the first, it felt like our 15s. The same way you plan each detail for those moments. Start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
the three things you need to know this hour. I'm Amanda Dixon. First, Murray police are trying to find the driver who hit and killed a man by Wheeler Farm over the weekend. Second, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is preparing to build 20 more temples that were announced during the Sunday afternoon session of General Conference. Third, former President Donald Trump is right now inside a Manhattan courtroom in a civil fraud trial. Right now it's 54 degrees and cloudy in Salt Lake City. Back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic, special coverage of the top national story.
Well, if you were thinking there would be a federal government shutdown today, you'd be wrong. It's off for now. House voting 335 to 91, and the Senate 88 to 9 to keep the government open. Democrats really pushing the negotiations over the edge, and it actually, at the end of the day, might cost Republican House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. I think that's really important to delineate that it was Democrats who really pushed the negotiations over the edge and voted in favor of this plan to keep the government open. And at the end of the day, Kevin McCarthy could pay a price if Representative Matt Gaetz gets his way.
And the one thing I agree with my Democrat colleagues on is that for the last 8 months, this House has been poorly led. And we own that, and we have to do something about it. And you know what? My Democrat colleagues will have an opportunity to do something about that too, and we will see if they bail out our failed speaker.
Because basically, any one person in the House can call for Kevin McCarthy's job. They can vote to replace him. What he's saying is the Democrats would have to rally around Republican Kevin McCarthy and vote yes to Kevin McCarthy as Speaker of the House, something that they refused to do earlier this year when he was first made Speaker. So it puts Democrats in a very odd position. Like, you want to support our guy?
And Republicans are bugged because they wanted these large across-the-board spending cuts, and they didn't get them.
Harmful cuts MAGA Republicans wanted. No 30% cuts across the board. No 30% cuts to things like health care, to the Social Security Administration, to the nutrition programs for kids. Full reauthorization of the FAA until December 31st. And the poison pill amendments, of which there were scores, MAGA-inspired riders, were all removed from the bill.
That's Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, and you could hear him just listing all the things that Republicans didn't get, which is just pouring gasoline on the fire because this is just winding up the House Freedom Caucus. And remember, this is just a 45-day reprieve. They're going to have this fight from now until the deadline hits in a month and a half.
Let's go to Ike Ejachi, ABC News correspondent, standing by for us live in Washington, D.C. Good morning, Ike.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
How safe is Speaker McCarthy right now?
Well, it really all depends on what he decides to do. Obviously, Representative Matt Gaetz, outside of the Capitol, said that he is probably going to, sometime this week, bring that trigger vote that would essentially be the ouster to Representative Kevin McCarthy as Speaker. Now, he was pressed by our Don Carl here on ABC on this week, and Gaetz himself even acknowledged that he may not even have the votes to actually oust McCarthy, but he said that he may get enough votes before 15 rounds of ballots. So you're seeing somebody here in Representative Gaetz willing to stretch this out as long as possible at the expense of the taxpayer dollars and really essential time. You said it yourself, a month and a half. November 17th is when this 45-day stopgap bill runs out, and we're back here again trying to figure out a way to fund the government. And we're seeing somebody already essentially get ahead of that and start to essentially try to remove the Speaker of the House simply for working with the Democrats to avert a government shutdown. You've heard other Democrats and also, not necessarily surprisingly, but seemingly other Republicans say that these essential far-right members of the Republican Party, Representative Matt Gaetz included, they're not interested in governing. You've heard Representative McCarthy, Speaker McCarthy rather, call them to step aside so real people can start governing. You're hearing this from both sides, but what it really is a fractioning of the Republican Party here in the House, and essentially what could be a major roadblock in terms of trying to figure out a way to fund the government for a long term in just a month and a half.
Is there an heir apparent if McCarthy is ousted?
That's the thing. There isn't really anyone who would be essentially on deck to take Speaker McCarthy's place. This is all just to punish Speaker McCarthy for essentially working with the Democrats to really keep the government running the way it's historically been for several generations now. We're seeing members of the Republican Party lawmakers accuse some far-right members of their own party of being obstructionists, essentially wanting to tear the entire thing down, the way the government works. And that's really causing a sort of mini civil war and infighting within the Republican Party, especially in the House of Representatives, something that McCarthy is going to do it sooner rather than later.
Ike Ejiochi with ABC News on the line with us live right now. He's in Washington, D.C., and we're talking about a federal government shutdown that was averted at the last minute over the weekend when House Speaker Kevin McCarthy managed to get enough votes to get this stopgap measure passed, get it over the president, to get it signed. And now it appears that there's some lobbying on behalf of Representative Matt Gaetz out of Florida to maybe relinquish the speakership from Kevin McCarthy. Don't know if that's going to happen yet, but the question I have, Ike, is will Democrats rally around and reward McCarthy for his willingness to work with them and let him keep his job?
Well, this is also a more nuanced question. We knew that the spotlight in terms of helping Republicans oust McCarthy will rely on some Democrats. And essentially what we're seeing now is Hakeem Jeffries, what will he do now in terms of his own party that he runs now? Now he's the chair of the Democrats. What is he going to decide to do? Well, we're getting a peek right now. On CNN on Sunday, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she's a prominent Democratic lawmaker, she said that she would vote to remove McCarthy, as he had, essentially in her words, clearly lost control. Now, other Democrats, they've said that they really vote present on a motion to vacate, not weighing in while making it easier for McCarthy to win, because it would lower the number of total votes he needs. But we've also seen some Democrats also not wanting to side with the far-right wing of the Republican Party, essentially giving them a win, which could weaken democracy altogether, according to some lawmakers. So it's not yet clear if the Democratic Party, in terms of the House participation in this motion to oust Speaker McCarthy, will be uniform. At this moment, it does appear that Democrats are appearing to have more than one decision on how to weigh in on that kind of vote if it is brought up to the House floor.
Ike Ejiochi, thank you for joining us, ABC News correspondent out of Washington.
And we don't know yet if Matt Gaetz will introduce a plan to oust Kevin McCarthy. Right now, he's said this publicly over the weekend that he would, but we don't know if he's actually going to follow through with that and if he has the votes.
Well, and what's changed, and one of the concessions that Speaker McCarthy made to the House Freedom Caucus was that any one person could basically call for an ouster or a revote or a replacement, and it only takes one. It used to be, a handful of people you had together.
Somebody could raise their hand and start the process.
Yeah, I could basically say, who wants to vote Debbie off the island? Right. Okay, but here's the key. Don't vote me off the island. But here's the key.
Their hands right now.
It's one thing to call for the vote. It's another thing to actually have the votes to oust him. And I think this is the math problem that Matt Gaetz will run into. I would be very, very surprised if he had the votes to oust Speaker McCarthy, because I think Democrats would probably come in and swoop in and say, well, he's better than the alternative, and whoever the alternative might be, approved by Matt Gaetz. They would say, well, we will take anyone that Matt Gaetz,
come on,
other than Matt Gaetz guy.
So, but the thing is, I just wanted to just insert a thought here, and maybe I can hold it for our next conversation. I will actually hold it for our next conversation because Dave thinks we need a government shutdown. Not trying to put words in your mouth. And will you walk us through why you think this way?
Yeah.
Okay. Dave thinks we need a federal government shutdown. Next.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story this hour, the Wasatch Front is going to get a good amount of rain through tomorrow. National Weather Service meteorologist Sam Weber says the Wasatch Front, especially Salt Lake, Davis, and Weber counties, could see a half inch to an inch of rain with highs only in the mid-50s.
On average, we do start to see these more and more frequently as we head into, October. We are at the beginning of our water year, starting to kick off this water year in the right direction.
The upper elevations are also expected to see some snow. However, highs this weekend are expected to jump back up to the mid-70s. Our top national story this hour from ABC News, a tense showdown on Capitol Hill over the weekend, with Congress narrowly averting a government shutdown by passing a stopgap bill.
McCarthy was able to pull off keeping the government open essentially by defying many members of his own party. He put a bill out that, in the end, 90 Republicans voted against, that required a 2/3 majority because he put it out without any notice, any warning. Almost all of the Democrats in the House, all except for one, voted for it. It passed, and it kept the government open for another 45 days. But this is something that McCarthy may pay a price for.
ABC News Chief Washington correspondent Jonathan Karl says McCarthy is now facing a threat to his leadership, with some Republicans planning on calling for a vote to elect a new speaker. 4 people are dead after a plane crash just after takeoff near Moab. It happened last night at Canyonlands Airfield north of Moab. The Grand County Sheriff's Office said it would share more details after notifying family members. The cause of the crash is under investigation. Your money at this moment. Right now, the Dow is off 28 points, less than 0.1%. We're at 33,479. Coming up, more showers through tomorrow. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:32. Start your days with knowledgeable, friendly voices telling you about the latest news and weather out there.
Hi, this is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
In the business of waking you up each morning from 5 to 9.
On KSL News Radio.
Hi, this is Clark Ivory with Ivory Homes. 2023 is turning out to be a great year for Ivory home buyers. Let me tell you why. The number of existing homes for sale is way down, so with fewer used homes to choose from, new home sales have soared. At Ivory Homes, we are creating all kinds of possibilities for you. A great selection of new homes ready for move-in, and fixed interest rates as low as 5.875%, saving you hundreds on your monthly payment. Check out Ivory Homes today.
Imagine it's the last ride, but your symptoms of irritable bowel syndrome with constipation, or IBS-C, are taking you for a ride. What should you do? Keep managing your constipation with belly pain the same old way? Or try getting ahead of your symptoms by talking to your doctor about treating it with Linzess, linaclotide. Linzess is a prescription medicine that treats IBS-C in adults. It's not a laxative. It's a once-daily pill that helps you get ahead of your symptoms. It's proven to help you have more frequent and complete bowel movements and helps relieve overall abdominal symptoms, belly pain, discomfort, and bloating. These symptoms were studied in combination, not individually.
Do not give Linzess to children less than 2. It may harm them. Do not take Linzess if you have a bowel blockage. Get immediate help if you develop unusual or severe stomach pain, especially with bloody or black stools. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side effects include gas, stomach area pain, and swelling.
Imagine, what could relief from IBS-C mean for you? Talk to your doctor and say yes to Linzess. Learn more at linzess.com or call 1-800-LINZESS.
All right, Mittens. This is going to be fine. Please don't panic. Okay, here we go. One paw at a time. No.
Some things are best left to the experts, like furnace inspections. Schedule one with a certified heating contractor to make sure your furnace is running safely and efficiently for winter. A reminder from Dominion Energy.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Granite Credit Union's new Dividend Plus checking account. And here's Heather Kelly.
Well, looks like the accidents we had along the Wasatch Front on freeways are cleared, and traffic is moving at speed, especially on I-15, both northbound and southbound throughout Utah, Salt Lake, Davis, and Weber counties. We do have a crash reported on 700 East. It's northbound at 1300 South. And that is causing a little bit of delay. I think there's only one lane blocked in that area, and everybody else moving along pretty nicely. The early bird sale starts today at Zero Res Carpet Cleaning. Just $25 per room for the best. No residue cleaning along the range. Minimums and area restrictions apply. Schedule online at zerores.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather now. Showers continue today and then taper off as we reach the evening. Today's high, 55 degrees, and tomorrow's conditions will look almost the same as today. Things start to warm up midweek, back up into the upper 60s. Right now, it's cloudy and 54 degrees at KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com. Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top national story.
Dave, you think that a government shutdown could be good for the country?
Yes.
It's so odd that you would
that's
want
a hot
people
take.
to be...
That's a mean one.
It's so odd that you would want people to be furloughed and out of work and maybe have like benefits, food benefits for children withheld if the states couldn't cobble together a funding mechanism to keep those benefits in place. Yeah, you're going to have to really explain yourself on this one.
Yeah, okay. So, first of all, the reason I think a government shutdown is needed right now is because I don't want people to suffer. None of us want people to suffer. No one wants this. But where are we right now in this country? We are $33 trillion in debt. We are drowning in debt. We are drowning in inflation. Everything financially is destroying us from within. Our kids, which of your kids do you think is going to buy a house? Because right now the answer is zero. Nobody can afford a house. We were just lucky enough to get in when prices were low. So is the outlook good? Every poll you see, Generation Z, the millennials, they feel pessimistic about the future. Well, how did we get to $33 trillion in debt? It's not through confrontation. It's through collusion. It's cooperation. Both Republicans and Democrats have been spending money at insane paces for decades.
Can I help you season your take a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely.
I was just looking at the CPI because that's the things that we do around here. I was looking at the Consumer Price Index literally this morning. And the CPI, which is the federal government index, right? It's not me making this up.
Yeah, this is inflation.
It says the buying power in 2020 of $52,000 is now, you would need about $61,000, almost $62,000 to enjoy that same buying power that you enjoyed when you were earning $52,000. That's because of inflation. So I seasoned your take just a bit. You're welcome.
No.
But I still have heartburn just telling people, look, you're going to be out of work. It's going to hurt the family budget. You don't know if you're going to be able to afford your child's medication while you're furloughed for 35 days or 60 days or who knows, 180 days. We don't know how long it'll take Congress to work it out. We know they don't generally work out a budget, that they kick the can down the road with these continuing resolutions. And that's where we're at right now. And that's what we're talking about. It is Congress, once again, came to a deal this weekend that only kicked the can down the road another 45 days to continue to fund the federal government. And I was shocked when Dave told me this morning when we were meeting before the show that he thought a government shutdown is needed and would be good.
Yeah, because what is the fight right now? Why are Republicans threatening to close down the government? Well, it's because they want massive spending cuts. They want massive spending cuts across the board. They want to shrink the size of the federal government because we are spending at an insane pace, which, again, keeps adding to our federal deficit. Well, my thinking is there's no question that a shutdown would hurt Utahns. It would hurt Americans. But my hope is that it's a short-term pain for long-term health, right? There's a lot of times when I want to eat dessert, and I want to have the cookies, I want to have the Oreos, and I want to have the milk. Well, that tastes good right now. That's beneficial to me right now. It's bad for my diabetes down the road. right?
You don't have diabetes, do
No,
you?
I'm
Okay.
just saying it's the short term. The short term makes us feel good
Right.
at the expense of our long term health, and the long term health is the long term health of the U.S. economy.
And you're using that as a metaphor for out of control spending.
Yeah.
In Washington D.C.
Yeah, they just
where
keep
they get
saying
everything
yes
they
to everything.
want.
Yep.
All their pet projects, and then at the end of the day, it's our kids are going to have to pay.
Exactly.
Can I bounce this off you? So as you are continuing to kind of push this idea down our throats that you want some sort of a government shutdown, and in a moment, I'm going to tell you, I'm not 100% sure they work, and I'm going to tell you why in just a second, Dave. So remind me to tee me up on that one because you know how my day is going so far. I'll forget. The governor, actually, the governor's office, budget office, put out a yellow, black and white graphic. If the government were to shut down over the weekend, here's how it would impact Utah. And it was helpful to me. So he says funding for the WIC program, which is the Women, Infant, Children, the food program. You see those signs all over the grocery store. This is, this milk or eggs. You can buy those with, fund from WIC. Anyway, it would impact if the government stopped this, stopped spending, stop funding the government as of today or yesterday, 9,659 infants in the state would be impacted by that, and 23,000 children. And they do say that plans are being developed to mitigate the impacts should the shutdown be extended after October. So it looked like they had some funds that were going to be, be able to sustain the program at least for a month. But after October, it's kind of anybody's guess. They were going to try to work some things out. I don't want those kids going hungry.
Yeah, and I don't want kids going hungry
or
as well.
Mom or dad trying to make their way to a food bank. Maybe they don't have the transportation to do that. I mean, Utahns, we are known for our giving nature.
Yeah.
So that one really worried me. And then also the governor's office said that the National Guard furloughs will be necessary in 2 to 3 weeks. And the federal government will provide clarification on which positions are essential, so which positions would stay on board. So we're looking at National Guard families that were on pins and needles, kind of wondering what would happen. Would they be deemed essential or not?
Okay, well, let me tackle the first one.
Sure,
You
go
said,
for it.
do I want kids going hungry?
Of course you
No,
don't.
Of course I don't want kids going hungry, but I also don't want them so burdened by inflation and the cost of things that they will be in poverty for their entire lives, right? I don't want kids hungry now. I also don't want our economy to spiral and tank, that as they grow up, there is no future for them because our economy has been so dragged down into the depths of the sea with a millstone of debt hanging around their neck. Let me give an example of why an instance when government officials did the right thing. Let's fly across the pond to France. Emmanuel Macron, the French president, looked at their Social Security, their pension system, which is essentially our Social Security system. And he said, we cannot afford to keep moving forward. We just can't do it. We will be bankrupt. It will ruin our economy. So I'm going to change the age of retirement from 62 to 64, just 2 years. Mind you, still way younger than Americans start pulling Social Security. But he said, we're changing it from 62 to 64 because it's the right thing to do. This is going to hurt in the short term, but this will preserve long term the Social Security system in France. 4 months, Debbie, months. Violent protests in the streets.
Mm-hmm.
The French were completely and totally against this. He was immovable. He would not bend because it was the right decision to make. It's a short-term pain for long-term good. And for far too often, we pass these continuing resolutions. We refuse to have a shutdown. The longest one, by the way, 35 days.
But that's my point, Dave.
We don't allow for short-term pain for long-term good.
So that's to my point about do shutdowns work. The last one, the longest in history that I can see, at least in recent history, 35 days. it carried over through the holiday season of 2018 into 2019. And before that, it looks like there was a 21-day in 95, 96, and a 16-day in 2013. We're right back where we started, and they did shut down the government.
Yeah.
So do shutdowns really pay off in the end?
Yeah, everyone collapses. Everyone caves. Nobody will stand by their beliefs. So what do? We kick the can down the road, and everybody agrees it's a disaster, but at least it's a disaster that is one we're comfortable with. And I think we're too used to eating dessert and saying, oh, yeah, well, I'll diet later. I'll diet in 45 days. No, you're not. Nothing's going to change in 45 days. There you go.
Good.
There's the pitch.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Did you know Utah has just one all-new station in the morning?
It's this one. Weekday mornings between 5 and 9.
Start your days with us. We are Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
Your morning companions for news.
All right, Deb, this weekend, I told you I've been thinking about it for a while. I did it. I bought an electric vehicle.
Congratulations.
Here's the problem.
Oh, you don't have a charging
I don't
station
have a charging
at
station.
home. Oh, and are you getting some range anxiety already over this?
It didn't last 5 minutes before I had range anxiety.
So you have to call our friends at Master Electrical. They can install a charging station at your home, and they'll do it with this upfront pricing. We've been talking about upfront pricing. I love the fact that price that they quote you up front is the price that you're going to pay at the end of that install, Dave.
Yeah, it's their upfront pricing guarantee. You can trust when they come out, they give you a bid, that is what you're going to pay. And they do this from Logan to Santaquin. They do emergency services. Mine isn't an emergency, though I do super need a charger now at my house.
Especially since it's an all-electric vehicle.
All electric.
So your call this afternoon is going to be to Master Electrical. And if you don't need an electric charging station, that's okay. They do lots of other things. Ceiling fans, smoke detectors, lights, generators. All you have to do is make one phone call, 801-543-2222, 801-543-2222.
Or check them out online at masterelectrical.com.
So you know when something's so great, you immediately want more?
Yes, ice cream cake.
No, I was thinking tonight on NBC.
No cake.
First, it's The Voice with Gwen Stefani, John Legend, Niall Horan, and
new coach Reba McEntire. Yes!
Then it's The Irrational starring Jesse L. Martin.
Ooh, from Law & Order.
This show will twist your brain into a pretzel.
That does sound tasty.
The Irrational after The Voice, tonight on NBC. You will want more.
Ice cream cake?
No.
Then stay tuned for KSL 5 News at 10.
Tonight at 10 on KSL. Have you read your restaurant receipt lately? Fees for credit cards, staff appreciation, COVID upcharge. Bring in your own birthday cake charge.
It's getting pretty excessive. That type of stuff's a little bit weird.
Our surprise surcharges adding dollars and cents when you dine out.
I'm just not a big supporter of adding additional fees.
I'll show you what to watch for. Random restaurant fees, live and streaming tonight on KSL 5 News at 10.
Get a new car at a used car price during our surplus sale. I'm Josh Osborne with Volkswagen Southtown. We have huge discounts on all remaining 2023s.
Get up to $4,000 off the 23 Taos, $5,000 off the 23 Tiguan, $6,000 off the 23 Atlas, and up to $10,000 off the ID4 EV. Hurry in before we run out of 2023s.
Get our lowest prices of the year at Utah's #1 Volkswagen dealer. Visit VWSouthtown.com.
Claim based on 2022 plus VW retail reports. Financing through VCI OAC.
When words come out of our mouths and everything sounds fine, no one bats an eye. But if things come out a little jumbled or letters sound different than most, there's speech therapy. But did you know that speech therapy is used for more than just stuttering or disfluency? From articulation to expressive and receptive language to a simple act of swallowing that most of us take for granted, speech therapy can do amazing things for you, your health, and of course your sense of self. That's why Summit Speech Therapy is here. Summit Speech Therapy works with people of all ages, from infants and toddlers who have a difficult time feeding or eating, TBI, stroke, or coma patients, to children and adults with speech problems. So much of it is all related, and Summit Speech Therapy can help. Summit works with all insurance companies as well as private pay options, and the experience can be life-changing. With clinics up and down the Wasatch Front, including Murray, with no long waiting for an appointment. For more, visit summitslp.com. That's summitslp.com.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think.
All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Do you have heart failure and often hear,
"Those stomach issues ruined your birthday"?
"You're too tired to play catch, Grandpa."
Sweetie, you haven't touched your tools since the carpal tunnel syndrome diagnosis.
If these seemingly unrelated symptoms sound familiar, talk to your cardiologist. Ask about transthyretin amyloid cardiomyopathy, or ATTR-CM, a rare and underdiagnosed disease that gets worse over time. Learn more at connecttoyourheart.com. That's connecttoyourheart.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, crisis averted for now. Congress narrowly averting a government shutdown by passing a stopgap bill over the weekend. Second, 4 people are dead after a plane crashed just after takeoff near Moab at Canyonlands Airfield. Third, the Supreme Court gets back in session today for a new term. Right now it's 54 degrees and cloudy in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
Dave, you asked a really good question at the beginning of our show. And it is, are citizens' arrest a thing? And let me fill you in on these details in case you're just joining us. This sounds like there's an absolute wild scene in the North Ogden area this weekend. So envision this. Kid says he's walking home from a skate park, like kids do, right? Picks up a broken construction sign, and I believe, according to what police say, he was planning on taking it home. Okay, I wouldn't think it's anything big, any big deal, right? But apparently, somebody sees this. A neighbor in the area sees this. A male, about in his late 50s, and he starts yelling at the kid. "There won't be any stealing in my neighborhood," according to the police report that I read. And then goes after the kid, allegedly pushes him, puts the kid in a chokehold. The boy's trying to call 911, is unsuccessful in getting through to 911, sort of. It turns out that the cop did hear some of this 911 call because it was patched through to his car, but somehow it gets disconnected or whatever the case. The man's in jail now on a child abuse charge, and he's claiming he was trying to make a citizen's arrest. And we wonder, does that even have merit?
I have no idea if a citizen's arrest is really a thing. I think I've heard that term for years. I have no idea if it's legit. Is that really something that we can do?
Well, let me read a little bit more of this. So the police file says the kid's actually walking the sign back to return it. I think he puts it down. I don't know how he could have the sign in his hand still and be in a chokehold, so he puts it down. And that, according to police, is when the man starts following him, telling him he could not leave the area until his dad got there. And the victim actually says he told police he couldn't breathe. He thought he was going to pass out. He tried to call 911 during this altercation, but that the man grabbed his phone out of his hand and threw it. Police say the phone actually did show that the kid tried to make a 911 call. I mean, Greg Skordas, our KSL legal analyst, to the rescue here. So this man's in jail, accused of child abuse. And Dave's wondering, is his claim of citizen's arrest have any merit in the state of Utah?
Well, certainly a person is allowed under Utah law to make an arrest, and police officers obviously do that, but citizens can as well. There is a rule that provides for that. Now, the fact that you can and the fact that you should are two different words, and in this case, it does seem really far, far, far overreaching for this individual to have made a citizen's arrest for a property crime that, A, wasn't even the man's own property, and B, didn't happen on his property in the first place. So, this would not have been an appropriate use of a citizen's arrest.
So, Greg, what are the parameters around a citizen's arrest?
Well, it's fairly simple, and that's a great question. And first is you can't use force unless force is justified, or that is the other person's using force, or perhaps they're in your house. I mean, if somebody's broken in your house, you're allowed to do whatever you need to do to protect yourself and your property. But when you're talking about a property crime, we don't allow the use of force, especially force like this, to effect an arrest. I mean, you could certainly detain him, take his picture, make a 911 call, videotape it. There are a lot of things that this person could have done, but physically restraining, especially via a chokehold, because that's created this to be an aggravated child abuse case, which is a felony under Utah law, and it may very well be what we call a second-degree felony, which is quite serious. It's punishable by up to 15 years in prison. So, this I don't know what was going on in this man's mind. He's also charged with damage to a communication device because he allegedly took the kid's cell phone away from him and threw it.
So when you say you could detain somebody, I would think, when you say detain, I think of physically restraining somebody. Because are you saying that detain is just your words? Like, you have been detained, you cannot leave, and someone's like, no, I'm leaving.
Well, that's a great question, and I hate to give advice because my first advice would be don't ever execute a citizen's arrest. I mean, just don't do it, period. But you can use reasonable force necessary to prevent the person's escape. And, I mean, I hate to even go down that road, Dave. It's a very fair question, but I guess if you surrounded him or sort of blocked him in with your car or something like that, blocked his car so he can't leave, and, there are certain things you could do. But to actually put your hands on a person, especially as happened here allegedly via a chokehold, that's just way overreaching for a simple property crime. I mean, the short answer is don't do a citizen's arrest. Just document it, get whatever information you can, and call the police.
Or all the Ring doorbell cameras in the neighborhood could have also documented it for him, probably. I want to go back to the cell phone issue because I see this a lot when I'm reading news stories regarding crimes. And I wonder if people realize the charge that if you interfere with somebody who's calling 911, and I quite frequently I see this in like domestic violence situations where the perpetrator will grab somebody's cell phone as they're trying to get help and damage it, crush it, throw it down the toilet, throw it against a wall. And that in and of itself is a crime because people are carrying phones for a reason, and it's not just to call their best buddy. It's sometimes to use it for 911 or to get help from police. And there is this, as you pointed out, in this case of the claim of citizen's arrest in North Ogden, this man is also in jail on damaging and interrupting a communication device, which was this kid's cell phone.
Right, and it's great that you use the word interruption because damaging, like you described, but even just throwing it so that the kid can't use it, and it doesn't matter who he was trying to call. You said it very well, Debbie. But damaging a communication device, which typically is a cell phone, or interrupting a person's use of it by taking it out of his hand is a separate crime all by itself. Now, it's not as serious under this fact scenario as the aggravated child abuse charge. It's a misdemeanor as opposed to a felony, but it's a separate punishable offense.
Greg, my final thought, and I totally see what you're saying. Like you would say, don't enact a citizen's arrest in the final 30 seconds. Okay, so you're saying don't do it? Then don't make it allowable by law is what I would say. Like, if it's still on the books, then we should have the legal protection to do it, right?
No, you're exactly right. And I'm not saying don't do a citizen's arrest. Well, I kind of am. But don't do it unless you really have to. I mean, it's there on the books for a reason, to make sure it's not abused, to make sure, if somebody's in your driveway, Dave, trying to stake your car, do what you need to do to stop it. Reasonably, without pulling out your 357 Magnum or something. But you can stop them. You can restrain them. You can hold them in your garage, if that means sitting on them and waiting until the police come. But chokeholds, use of deadly force, you just can't do that unless there's a threat to your life.
The allegation here is this child was picked up a broken construction sign and was taking it home with him, but then he put it back. So, problem solved.
Dave and Dujanovic. KSL FM Midvale, KSL Salt Lake City. Listen at home on any smart speaker and in your car at 102.7 FM. This is KSL News Radio, Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bonas. KSL's top story this hour. Utah Governor Spencer Cox says the federal government should never have gotten as close as we did to a shutdown. Governor Cox says other states were looking to Utah over the past several weeks, learning how to keep national parks up and running during a potential shutdown.
It was interesting to see other states following our lead as well. Arizona, Colorado called us. We had Pennsylvania. They were calling us, finding out how they could keep the Liberty Bell available for people who had planned their entire vacations for years.
Cox tells Utah's Morning News he was a key player in navigating the government shutdown in 2013 as lieutenant governor, and he says all of Utah's preparations would still apply if a shutdown happened in the next 45 days. Miss Utah, now Miss USA.
Miss USA 2023 is Utah!
Noelia Voigt was the winner of the Miss USA crown, the daughter of a Venezuelan immigrant and a champion for dating violence prevention. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. All eyes on the House floor this week as Representative Matt Gaetz continues his threats to remove Speaker Kevin McCarthy following his work with Democrats to avoid a government shutdown. ABC's Jay O'Brien has more.
If it's more than 5 House Republicans, McCarthy has to start offsetting those with Democratic votes to keep him. And so we've spoken with House Democrats who said they haven't yet heard from Speaker McCarthy's office, but they also haven't heard from their own Democratic leadership as to what leadership wants to do about this. So you're going to see a lot of different political machinations as to if Democrats bail out McCarthy.
That's ABC's Jay O'Brien. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down on the day, 190 points right now. The NASDAQ is up, though, about 46 points. And our KSL weather, the rain is going to taper off. We'll look for that coming up. KSL weather is next. Hi, KSL News Time, 10:02.
Early mornings can be hard enough, just getting yourself going.
We try to make it a little easier with news and weather from comfortable, trusted anchors and reporters.
Join us on Utah's Morning News between 5 and 9
on KSL News Radio.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. What about those round trips that you plan in advance, which are perfect on your way there and perfect on your way back? Or those meetings with friends for which you make a group chat 3 months before so that nobody or anything is missing? Or your daughter's first birthday party. You planned it with such dedication that instead of the first, it felt like our 15s. The same way you plan each detail for those moments. Start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit, and make a family communications plan. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Imagine how inconvenient your life would be without power. No lights, no refrigeration, no heating or cooling, and no electronics. But with a Generac home standby generator, you'll have the power when you need it most. Generac generators automatically provide backup after sensing a power outage, so your life goes on uninterrupted. Schedule a free quote today with Genco Generators, your premier Generac service dealer in Utah. Call 801-295-0872 or online at gencogenerators.net.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Go to KSLKids.com and donate to the KSL Give-a-thon. We need your help raising money for sick Utah kids receiving treatment at Primary Children's Hospital.
Be a smile maker. An automatic gift each month helps save the lives of children all year long. Sponsored by J&J Garden Center in Layton.
A big thanks to other generous sponsors, including Big Canyon Homes and Sugar House Industries, for their amazing support of the kids at Primary Children's.
With the KSL Giveathon, we can't do it without you. Please give.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Granite Credit Union's new Dividend Plus checking account. Here's Heather Kelly.
Well, we don't have any crashes reported right now along the Wasatch Front, but we do have scattered rain showers, and it's creating some very wet road conditions, especially if you're in the north end of Utah County, south and west side of the Salt Lake Valley. So just slow down your speeds as you transition between dry and wet road conditions for safety reasons, but otherwise you're going to have a pretty good drive right now. Dracula returns, and yes, there are flying vampires, live with Ballet West Orchestra, October 20th through 28th. Tickets at balletwest.org. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, cooler today with periods of showers in the afternoon. We'll see snow in very high elevations, and more showers tomorrow with dry and sunny weather moving in on Wednesday. Right now, 54 degrees and cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas, KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com, Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic.
We have been focusing significantly in the last several shows on this child care cliff that we're about to go over. We had the State Office of Child Care on the line last week, and they said, look, we have some federal funding that's still remaining after the pandemic. Of course, the federal funds infused a lot of child care centers with extra money to keep them afloat because they really got smacked by the pandemic. And they have some money left, but it's going to be at a reduced rate that these child care centers will be subsidized going forward until about the end of 2024. So we've been looking for some solutions to this child care cliff because this could include, staff cuts, because a lot of the child care centers use their pandemic funding to boost wages to something that's reasonable, $12 to $15 an hour. Or it could mean that child care centers will close. So one of those solutions that I think could be a solution is more widespread, all-day kindergarten, so families can get out of the cycle of childcare sooner. Dave's a big hater of all-day kindergarten. This is like kids be kids.
Okay, there's a couple things going on, and full-day kindergarten as a daycare solution I don't like for this reason. I want school to be for school. I want daycare to be for daycare. And when you start blending it together or justifying more school because it eases daycare concerns, I think that blurs a line that we shouldn't be playing in. I think I have no problem with funding school, public money. I have no problem with that with public school because it's for education. As soon as we start justifying it because, this is making it easier for parents to go back to work and ease a concern for daycare, then I think we're playing in waters that we shouldn't be playing.
But all-day kindergarten would mean kids would have academics, right? I mean, to some degree.
True.
Right? I mean, you put them in all-day kindergarten, it's going to be different than they go to the child care center and they play with blocks and Legos all day while they wait for mom and dad to pick them up. But we don't know what the state has in store, if anything. So let's bring Christine Elegante. Have I overpronounced?
Yeah,
I got it right. I was like, I'm overpronouncing your last name here. So you're the kindergarten through third grade literacy specialist with the State Board of Education. Give us a lay of the land. I know it was all day kindergarten was recently expanded to more schools this school year. How are the slots filled up?
Yeah, so let's just back up just a little bit. Last year, we added 314 new full-day kindergarten classes, and that led to about 46% of our students were able to access kindergarten. And then fast forward this year, where we now have the funding is in the WPU, which means that's the weighted pupil unit. That means that funding is allocated to kindergarten just like it is in grades 1 through 12. If they attend full day, they get the full funding. And with that addition, we were anticipating about adding another 410 full day kindergarten classes. And we don't have our final counts. That will happen at the end of the month. But what we have been told is there's a lot more demand for full day kindergarten than was anticipated by our local districts and charter schools. There's just a higher demand for it.
Any idea how much larger the demand is?
Well, we anticipated getting up to about 67, 68% of our students having access to full day kindergarten, and we believe will be right around 70, 71, 72. It's hard to say without having those exact counts, but what we have been told from the field is that a lot of parents who opted to do maybe a half day option as part of, they'd be in a full day class, but then they would come and pick up their child half day. A lot of those kids have already transitioned and moved over into just going full day. So you still have a couple, you still have some kids that are still attending half day programs within a full day class, if that makes sense. But many of them, the parents went ahead and have made that transition and said, hey, you know what, we weren't quite sure about this full day kindergarten option, but what we're seeing and what our child is experiencing, we're excited. Let's go ahead and let's just leave them there full day. So
this is a question I had, and I think you're touching on it very well right now. Just to describe to our listeners how kindergarten, half day, and full day are working, practically speaking. I guess in my mind is there was going to be two different classes. There was going to be a half-day kindergarten class and a full-day kindergarten class. But from my understanding, what it has done is they've put all the kids into just one class. And if you wanted the half-day option, then you'd just have to come pick up your child, correctly? Halfway through the school day?
Yeah, so it varies across the entire state. That it'll vary where some places they have only full day kindergarten classes with the half day option. And then there's other pockets of the state where they have full day classes as well as half day classes. If they have enough parents who wanted a half day class and they could offer a full half day class, then they offered a half day class. For example, the school that my neighborhood school, we have 2 full day kindergarten classes and 1 half day class. So it's very different across the state, just depending on where you live and kind of whether the schools had room for full day kindergarten, whether the community wanted it. So there were a lot of variables in it. So it looks very different across the state right now.
Christine Elegante is a kindergarten through third grade literacy specialist with the Utah State Board of Education. We asked her to join the show today because we know there are a lot of parents that are facing what's called a child care cliff as pandemic money is pulled back, or it's not going to get continued funding. I shouldn't say pulled back at the same rate it was for child care centers. And so there's concern that some daycare centers in Utah may have to close because they won't have that funding, or lay off staff because they won't have that same amount of money to continue to pay that higher wage. Christine, I just have a couple of, I think, practical maybe questions for parents. The all-day kindergarten it does not charge parents, maybe a couple of fees here and there for some supplies, but the state picks up that cost through state funding, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. It's in the weighted pupil unit now.
Okay.
Which is a change because there were pockets in the state last year, and previous years that were charging tuition to offset the cost of being able to provide all-day kindergarten.
So
that no longer...
Right. The tuition there's no more tuition, no matter where you are, for full-day kindergarten in Utah. And then how young or old does a child have to be to enter kindergarten in Utah? What are the cutoffs in the ages?
So they have to turn 5 on before September 1st. So they have to be 5 before that September 2nd. So if they turn 5 on September 1st, they are eligible to enroll in kindergarten. If they turn 5 on September 2nd, they're not eligible in our state to start kindergarten.
Well, we appreciate you joining us. Christine Elegante is the K through 3 literacy specialist with the Utah State Board of Education. Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome.
I see your point, Dave. You know, you want kids to be kids. I worry that financially, with the cost of everything and childcare potentially, the tuition costs going up to where it's, you know, $1,000 a month or even $500 a month to put a child in half day or $600, whatever the case may be, it is pricing families out of paying for childcare.
Well, we were talking to Carlos, one of our producers, and he said in Spain they start full day school, so their pre-K stuff at age 3. So 3, 4 is all their pre-K. That's all covered, paid for by the state, paid for in full at the age of 3, at the age of 4, and then kindergarten starts at 5. That's where I question, where do you draw that line? At what point are you done? Or you're saying, you know what, we're gonna start teaching your kid at 5 years old. You're responsible for their daycare up until that point.
Next, let's talk about student loan. The repayments are rebooted as of this month. And we're wondering, did President Biden's extension of the student loan pause, coupled with his promise to forgive $10,000 to $20,000 in student loan debt that, of course, got panned by the Supreme Court of the United States, put borrowers in a much more precarious financial situation? I'm going to do the math for you next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Hi, it's Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
Why should you start your day with us?
We have decades of news experience between us.
And we take your trust seriously.
Come here for news tomorrow, 5 to 9.
On KSL.
Do you need tickets for Taylor?
Yes, please.
It's hard to find good ones to the Eras concert movie.
Tell me about it.
So let KSL do this for your kids. Or maybe it's for you. We're giving away a pair of tickets to a private KSL screening of the Eras movie. Just listen each day at 8:45, 11:45, and 3:45 for your chance to win. 3 chances to win every weekday. 8:45, 11:45, and 3:45 for the next 2 weeks on KSL News Radio.
The country's largest used RV show is back and better than ever. Come find the biggest used RV selection in years, October 5th through the 7th at the Shops at Southtown. We're bringing in a massive range of used RVs from 6 locations in 3 states for this event. Shop used travel trailers, fifth wheels, motorhomes, toy haulers, and more all on site. Plus, find even more used models online at countriesrvshow.com. You'll find used RV pricing starting as low as $10,000. Along with a huge selection of used RVs, find new RVs straight from the factory already discounted for fall. Plus, all remaining 2023s are at fall show pricing. Strike the best RV deal of the season with no payments until 2024 on approved credit. Not to mention huge trade-in offers on your current RV. And check out our Hunter's Corner just in time to kick off your hunting season. We'll also have consignment RVs at private sale prices backed by dealer support. Don't miss your best chance to extend your fall camping season during the country's largest used RV show. 3 days only, October 5th through the 7th at the Shops at Southtown. Open daily at 10 a.m. with free admission. Sponsored by Bish's RV.
Fall is here, and the holidays are coming fast. Zero Res is running an early bird sale this week. Just $25 per room for carpet cleaning. Get your holiday cleaning done now and save big. That's 25% off the regular price. The Zero Res method stays cleaner longer, so enjoy a clean home now and still be ready come the holidays. It's the early bird sale because it ends on Tuesday the 3rd, so you're only saving if you're a true early bird. You don't have to clean today, but you have to get on the schedule during the sale. $25 per room, minimums apply, call for details. And if you want to save even more, ask them about their special discounts on pet odor treatments too. Nothing beats a professional cleaning, and no one outcleans Zero Res. The early bird sale at Zero Res. Just $25 a room. Minimums and area restrictions apply. Offer valid in Salt Lake, Utah, Davis, and Weber counties only. Schedule today. Online at ZeroRes.com.
I was crossing the street when I met the love of my life. I chased after her. Nothing would stand in my way. Not the dog walker, nor the hot dog vendor. Finally reaching her, I asked, "What do you call that amazing smell?"
It's Gain Flings.
Gain Flings. My love had a name, but more importantly, it had a scent.
Fall in love with Gain Flings. Seriously good scent. Gain Flings with 50% more freshness ingredients versus leading bargain detergent.
At SimpliSafe, we've designed award-winning home security with advanced sensors, HD cameras, and now this, 24/7 LiveGuard protection, only from SimpliSafe. Now, monitoring agents can see and speak to intruders through our new indoor camera to help stop crime in real time and for fast police response. Get 20% off any new system with Fast Protect monitoring at simplisafe.com/radio. Advanced home security, 24/7 professional monitoring for less than $1 a day. There's no safe like SimpliSafe.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Held over due to popular demand. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to save 40 to 80% on a hot tub and swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to save 40 to 80% on a hot tub and swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Friday, noon to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 888-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bonas. First, Congress has avoided a government shutdown, but Utah's governor says they never should have let it get that close. Second, Miss Utah is now Miss USA. And third, the Republican Speaker of the House may have to depend on Democrats to keep his job. 54 degrees and cloudy right now in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Question. Do you think President Biden's extension of the student loan pause, coupled with his program to forgive that $10,000 to $20,000, which of course got panned by the Supreme Court of the United States, do you think his campaign promise and then his promise after he got elected put borrowers in a much more precarious financial situation? The reason we're asking this today is because student loan payments are officially rebooted now.
It was an absolute disaster. The way he handled student loans has been a disaster from day one. Now, I know you're going to walk through how this actually happened, but whenever you have something that is a poorly defined plan, and you just kind of throw ideas off the top of your head, well, then that leaves everyone kind of in this limbo of well, I don't know what to do because I don't know what promises you're making are legitimate and what are just pie in the sky promises.
Well, also, what about projecting? For example, if you said, "Here's my plan," because I know it's going to leak out.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get to the podium. I'm going to announce my plan. My plan is a little. It may sound pie in the sky. Of course, no politician would ever say that, but it sounds pie in the sky. I really want to forgive between $10,000 and $20,000 in student loan debt, and he says this right after he's elected because he has kind of campaigned on this promise,
yes.
Right? So this has been put in the minds of folks for many years, but we know, like with anything, there will be somebody who says they're a victim of this program. They'll challenge it in the courts. So I'm going to urge you to continue to make those payments on your loans. We are going to pause the interest, which brings you down to a zero interest. So no interest will accrue. That's great news because on for example, your $20,000 loan at 6% interest, you will save potentially a couple of $1,000s in interest just by paying that principal down for the next year or two. Now, if you've hit a hurdle or a roadblock, actually, and you can't hurdle that roadblock, you can not make the payments. But here are the consequences. But he didn't say any of that. It was it's going to be a free-for-all forgiveness program. Lucky everybody. And then the Supreme Court's you can't do that by executive order. Get out of here. Sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
No,
Do you think that would have helped if you would have just said, I have a plan, and here's how it's going to work. But in the meantime, keep paying.
Yeah, but why would you ever keep paying if you think that they're going to forgive the loan?
All right, good point.
Which is exactly what happened. And we talked to John Curl from Utah Valley University, who runs the student loan program there. And I asked him, I said, did you notice people paying their student loans during this pause? And he said, yes, initially we did. People were taking advantage of paying off their loans
at 0%.
Because it was interest-free.
Okay.
So every dollar was going toward their loan. So that was great. He said as soon as President Biden said we're going to forgive student loans, $10,000 to $20,000, he said you could see it. People stopped paying, which I don't blame them for.
Mm-hmm.
I 100% would have stopped paying. Why would you pay something that would eventually be forgiven? So I don't blame people for stopping that payment plan. But it got overturned by the Supreme Court of the United States. So now they are stuck having not paid anything down and not having taken advantage because Biden's promise came back to bite him.
So you can't count on the government to save you.
Well,
you can't count
not
on
with their magic wand.
But however, there was a little conditioning that went on, actually, to the tune of thousands of dollars for a lot of American families when there were these checks that got magically deposited into bank accounts and stimulus money over the course of the pandemic.
Great point.
So maybe there was some
great point.
So maybe there's some conditioning going on that the federal government will. I would say to folks, this will never happen again. Like, it just will never. I think I got one $400 check back in the 90s during the Clinton administration. I could be wrong. I don't know for sure. I think it was. And we bought like a half a mattress with it. You know what I mean? Like, we had to put the rest of the mattress on a payment plan. But this, I mean, it was, in some cases, it was more than $10,000 for a lot of families here in Utah. So there's some conditioning and some false hope that a lot of borrowers absorbed, and they thought, oh, my loan's going to be forgiven. Wrong. Let me do a little D2 math. You always say I'm bad at math. I think I nailed this one. So let's say you have a $20,000 student loan. I think that's about average. In Utah, it's a little less, but we're going to go with $20,000 because it's a round number. It's easy to do the math. And you just paused making payments. You just took that loan out. You got word that there's a pause, and then you got word that Biden, your guardian angel over your loan is going to swoop in, and he's going to dissolve all $20,000 of that loan. It'll happen any day. You just keep waiting. So you pause. You don't make any payments. And if you would have paid about $200, maybe $250 a month, you would have paid down with zero interest, right? Because there was no interest accruing during this time. You would have paid down between about $7,500 on that loan. So you would have been at, let's put you at about $13,000, maybe $12,000. Feels a lot more manageable, doesn't it?
Yeah, you reduced it by a third.
It doesn't feel like you've got the weight of the world hanging over your head. For some reason, when your loan gets down to the teens, it feels better. So you don't have as much anxiety, which is good. We don't like having money anxiety. It stinks. But now, because the president failed to save you, on that, you're going to pay on that full $20,000, and if you don't refinance it, which I don't know if that's a good idea or bad idea, depending on your situation, at 6%, you're going to wind up paying an additional $2,000, maybe $3,000 in interest over the next 10 years, which is about the length of the loan generally. So now you're out, let's say $3,000, maybe even more, because you have to pay interest instead of on that $13,000, you're paying it on that full $20,000. So President Biden kind of put you in a more financially precarious situation. Did put you in a more financially precarious situation with his promise.
And we also got conditioned to not paying that loan.
Yeah.
That's going to be, I think, one of the hardest things for folks to do is they've been living for the past 3 years in a world where you didn't have to make payments on that loan. So it's easy to forget, I still have that $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, whatever it might be. I still have that loan hanging over my head. Now you've got to ramp up again, factor it into your family budget all over again when you had 3 years where they just gave you an excuse not to pay it.
And what's changed since 2020 with your financial picture? Inflation, huge. So looking at the consumer price index, because I wanted to know, like, what is buying power in 2020 compared to 2023 to today? And it's the federal government's own website that will tell you this. It's their CPI calculator. And they say, if you started with $52,000 earning that in 2020, you will need to be earning about $62,000 today to have that same buying power. So now add in $200, $250 a month. Maybe it's a little less, maybe it's a little more in student loan payments. Where are you going to get that money? You're jammed.
Yeah, you're
jammed
you're
up.
Incredibly jammed up.
Right.
Which is why you cannot promise this stuff. This is the problem with executive orders. This is the problem of trying to do something and bypass Congress, is that can get overturned, which is exactly what happened. Had they gone through Congress and Congress had figured out and passed a law to forgive loans, that's something you could rely on, absolutely. But the magic wand of the presidential pen, which is the executive order, will come back and bite you. And I feel terrible for people that have to factor this into their budgets now, because the government lied to you and they sold you a bill of goods, and now you're paying the price.
But there's hope. All right, we're going to get you out of a jam. I've got a list of programs that'll help with repaying your student loans. They're programs that are tested and they worked, plus joined by a certified financial planner on what to do if you feel like you're jammed up with repayments rebooting.
It's 10:31 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour. Only one of Utah's congressional delegation voted against the last-minute spending bill that's keeping the government from shutting down. And that one holdout is Senator Mike Lee. He had this to say to Fox News days before the shutdown deadline.
I think the best way to proceed at this point would be to pass something that keeps the government funded for a few weeks.
According to the Cache Valley Daily, Lee says his no vote was against what he calls 11th hour continuing resolutions with no spending reforms, no border security, and no check on unconstitutional policies. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Arriving at a courtroom in Manhattan this morning, former President Donald Trump continues to criticize the civil fraud case brought against him by New York Attorney General Letitia James. He claims he's being unfairly targeted by the criminal indictments because he chose to run for another term as president.
This is a continuation of the single greatest witch hunt of all time.
Trump stands to lose business certificates, several properties in New York, including Trump Tower. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average, down on the day 215 points right now, while the NASDAQ is up 32. And our KSL weather, we'll get some more rain, but then it dries out. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:32.
What do you need to hear in the morning to feel ready for the day?
Important news that happened overnight, the traffic you'll hit on the roads.
You'll be ready for your day with us.
Join Utah's Morning News 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Everything's changing so fast these days, and that's a great thing. Back in my day, we were lucky if we could get a video to load on a desktop computer, but now there's the Xfinity 10G network. That means the fastest internet with faster speeds rolling out all the time, and internet that can power a house full of devices at once with ultra-low lag. So while one person streams a movie from their room, another can play video games in the basement, while another TikToks in the kitchen. It's the next generation 10G network, only from Xfinity. The future starts now through December 21st. New customers can get 1.2 gigabit internet with Wi-Fi equipment included. It's all just $25 a month for 2 years with no annual contract when you add Xfinity Mobile with unlimited data at regular rates. Go to xfinity.com/10G, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra. Xfinity Mobile requires Xfinity Internet. After promo, regular rates apply to internet service and devices. Actual speeds vary. The next generation 10G network only from Xfinity.
Made to shine. Real stories from Shane Company customers.
We met later in life. I liked his dimples.
Both of our spouses had passed away, and we never expected to remarry.
That's the funny thing about love. It has its own agenda.
I wanted to get her a ring that celebrated our future, but didn't ignore our past.
I just wanted a party.
Shane Company helped me create the perfect ring, the center stone for us and the 2 side stones for our past loves.
Capture your love story with a unique engagement ring. Shane Company, fine jewelry since 1929.
When words come out of our mouths and everything sounds fine, no one bats an eye. But if things come out a little jumbled or letters sound different than most, there's speech therapy. But did you know that speech therapy is used for more than just stuttering or dysfluency? From articulation to expressive and receptive language to a simple act of swallowing that most of us take for granted, speech therapy can do amazing things for you, your health, and of course your sense of self. That's why Summit Speech Therapy is here. Summit Speech Therapy works with people of all ages, from infants and toddlers who have a difficult time feeding or eating, TBI, stroke, or coma patients, to children and adults with speech problems. So much of it is all related, and Summit Speech Therapy can help. Summit works with all insurance companies as well as private pay options, and the experience can be life-changing. With clinics up and down the Wasatch Front, including Murray, with no long waiting for an appointment. For more, visit summitslp.com. That's summitslp.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Granite Credit Union's new Dividend Plus checking account. Here's Heather Kelly.
Well, we do have some rain falling across most of the Salt Lake Valley on the west and south sides and a little bit into the north end of Utah County as well. That is reducing visibility as people drive around. The good news is there's no accidents reported. Traffic might be slightly under the speed limit, but there's no delays on I-15, the east or west side belt routes, or the 201 freeway. Your one-tank trip starts in Cedar City, Parowan, and Bryan Head. Scenic byways, fabulous fall colors, live theater, mountain biking, chairlift rides, ATVing, vibrant art, food, and downtown. Visit cedarcity.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather cooler today with periods of showers into the afternoon. We'll see snow in very high elevations. More showers tomorrow with dry and sunny weather moving in on Wednesday. Right now, 53 degrees and cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas, KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com. Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Student loan repayments. You got to start paying them again. The program's rebooting as of now in October. We know that President Biden's forgiveness plan, I'll call it his promise, failed miserably. The Supreme Court crushed it and just said, you can't do this by executive order. That's not legal. So nobody's coming to pay you, to save you. So perhaps we can come up with some programs here. I've got a list here, Dave, that might work for some of our listeners.
A couple things. Number one, obviously, I've never liked any sort of loan forgiveness program. Let me set that aside. The problem I had with President Biden's plan is anyone with an ounce of political savvy knew that this would fail in the courts. Like, everybody knew this was going to fail. No one thought this would get through a very conservative Supreme Court. But what he did is, by trying to push this through executive order, basically everyone that had a student loan was just hit pause. They're like, well, I'm holding out hope. I'm not going to keep paying on my student loans because, well, he might forgive them. So instead of people consistently paying down their loans, they said, nope, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to hold out hope, so that when it failed, when the forgiveness failed, now everybody has to reintroduce into their budget a payment plan that they haven't paid on for 3 years.
I think they should also be digging around to see if one of these other programs that have been in place for years and actually work will work for them. So there's this Perkins Loan Cancellation and Discharge Program. And if you had one of these loans, which was issued about 5 years ago, and you work in public service, you could be eligible to have full 100% loan forgiveness. So this would be like a full-time nurse, a full-time firefighter, a full-time faculty member at a tribal college or university, a full-time speech pathologist. You have to have a master's degree and work in an elementary school that's considered a Title I or a secondary school, but you could have 100% of that loan forgiven for 5 years of eligible service. You could even be a librarian and you may qualify. And then there's the another program, the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. Federal loan borrowers can have their loans forgiven after 120 months of loan payments, so that's 10 years. And you can work for a nonprofit organization or a government agency full-time, and you got to keep making the payments, but after 10 years, you could get forgiven, your loan forgiven. And then there's a teacher loan forgiveness program. And if you qualify for that, Dave, you can have up to $17,500 in loan forgiveness, and if you teach full-time for 5 full consecutive years. And you have to teach in a low-income elementary or secondary school to qualify for that. But there's programs out there that people should be checking into.
That sounds like a nightmare. Just so difficult to follow.
Getting money forgiven takes work.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes work. I also, Shane Stewart, certified financial planner. Dave was asking the question in the break, like, what about companies? Do they offer like loan forgiveness? Like, for example, I've heard of some cities in more remote areas will forgive loans of doctors or dentists who move there to provide services to the residents there because they don't want to drive 400 miles to get a dental checkup. So these are things I think that people need to think about.
Absolutely. In fact, you're on the right track. We have to embrace the fact that the loans aren't going away. I still talk to a few people who think, "Oh, I'm holding out hope," and I think, "Oh, forget that. That is not going to happen." Now, take some responsibility and find out what you can do to help pay off your loans. And you're absolutely right, Dave and Debbie. There are a lot of things out there that might help qualify. You need to, if you really want some help with those, you need to exhaust that list. Once the list is exhausted, then you go back to some tried and true tenets of paying off debt. Things like maybe paying it every 2 weeks or paying a little more towards the principal to get that thing paid down quicker than it normally would be.
When you say pay a little extra, what are we talking? Are we talking $20 more or $100 more? What do you consider a little extra?
Yeah, I've seen people successfully add another $10 or $15, and it does lower the amount of time that the loan is open. However, obviously, the more you can put to the principal each month, the better, the quicker it will be paid off. But there have been a few folks who've said, "Well, I only have, $10, $20 to put towards that. It doesn't feel like it's going to make any difference." Well, an extra month is an extra month, and if you can pay it off sooner, the better.
So Shane, by the way, Shane Stewart with DMBA, he's a certified financial planner, joining us on this glorious occasion that a lot of people, I guess, who's going to financially hurt a lot of Utah families potentially of the student loan repayment reboot here. Walk back through that every 2-week payment. I've heard of it before. I've thought about doing it before, like on a mortgage, but I've never done it. How does that work, and why does it put people so much further ahead in paying back the loan?
Yeah, so if you pay every 2 weeks instead of once a month, you end up paying the equivalent of 1 extra month or 2 extra weeks. Months are broken down. Every 2 weeks would be 26 payments, whereas once a month would be the equivalent of
24 payments.
24 half payments,
or
right?
24, okay.
And so,
12 payments.
So you're
okay.
just basically paying an extra month, and it's a way to condition yourself. It doesn't feel like you're paying more because you're breaking it down into every 2-week periods, and most people are paid every 2 weeks or monthly. And it helps psychologically not feel like you're paying more, but you actually are coming up with an extra month's payment each year.
So I was going to say, so it shaves a month off each year. So if you have a 10-year repayment plan and you're saving a month off each year, that's cutting it down quite a bit.
Almost a year.
Sure. Yeah,
Okay.
You're accelerating that payment.
And you're not paying any more. You're just being more strategic about paying it every 2 weeks.
And psychologically, you actually are paying a bit more
okay.
in the year, but it doesn't feel like it because you're not paying more out of your paycheck. The So it doesn't feel like you're paying more out of your paycheck because you're doing it every 2 weeks.
I see what you're saying.
Once a month.
Okay.
Quickly, in the final 30 seconds that we have, what about gifting money? What do we know about that?
You mean folks gifting to other people so they can pay off their loans?
Yeah. Are there limits and stuff for tax purposes that I have to consider? Sure.
If someone was going to gift to another person, there is a gift tax limit. I think we're at about $15,000 right now, but it's basically if you want to gift money, let somebody. Oh, it's $17,000 actually. Yeah. $17,000 is a gift. You can give $17,000 without a tax consequence. Anything more than that would have a tax consequence
for either person, right? So if the gifter won't have a tax consequence and the recipient won't have a tax consequence if you stay within the federal limit.
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay. All right. But that could be a way if mom and dad wanted to step up and give their kids some money.
Yeah, if your rich uncle or aunt
right.
Help, absolutely.
Just keep it under that limit so then they also aren't dinged for taxes on that too. So
that's right, and that's per year. So just have them give you that gift each year.
Yeah, here's how you do it. You do it in December for the holidays, and then you give them another gift in January. I've got it all figured out. All your rich uncles.
For New Year's resolutions. There you go.
I need new uncles. I don't know. Who are your uncles? They're shelling out $15,000 in December and then again in January.
Hey, look, if President Biden can toss out a pie in the sky, I'm going to forgive $10,000 to $20,000 in loans. And a whole bunch of people bought off on it. We can all, I can throw out the idea of just adopting a rich uncle.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Before Dave and Debbie get started each day, this station is all news all morning.
And later today, we follow up on those stories as you drive home.
Get important news all morning and all afternoon.
Here on KSL News Radio.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. The other night, Dee and I had the chance to go to Hale Center Theater to see Around the World in 80 Days. What an amazing stage production that is. We're all familiar with the story, but oh my goodness, when they're in India and we're watching them riding an elephant, and of course the aerial artistry at Hale Center Theater, just superb and such a great part of this story. There's drama, there's pageantry. We even have a little melodrama portion when Fogg and company are touring the good old USA. Some of the greatest slow-mo acting I have ever seen in that scene. You're going to love Around the World in 80 Days. And your tickets are waiting for you right now at hct.org. And don't forget, Catch Me If You Can. That's on the other stage. Christmas Carol is just around the corner. And of course, Elf the Musical is coming up. It's all waiting at Hale Center Theater. Go to hct.org.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services. And if you have a drain that's clogged or backed up, after you've tried the plungers and products, the next step usually involves some kind of drain snake or cabling equipment. You see, sometimes the blockage is far enough down the line that you need special equipment that most homeowners just don't have. That's where the Drains Department at Any Hour Services can help. A drain snake can clear most blockages and get the water flowing again, and clearing blocked drains is what our Drains Department does day in and day out. So if you're a homeowner with a drain line that's clogged or backed up and you'd like one of our drain technicians to come and snake the line for you, it's only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Hi, this is Cameron Rising. Growing up, summer break was the best, but I've learned that a lot of kids don't feel the same. That's because summer means their school breakfast and lunch won't be available. What's awesome is the food bank helps. Join me and Les Olson IT by giving food, time, or money. Take your donations to any Les Olson IT branch or the food bank, and find more info at lesolson.com/food. Let's support our community together.
So you know when something's so great, you immediately want more?
Yes, ice cream cake.
No, I was thinking tonight on NBC.
No cake.
First, it's The Voice with Gwen Stefani, John Legend, Niall Horan, and
new coach Reba McEntire. Yes!
Then it's The Irrational starring Jesse L. Martin.
Ooh, from Law & Order.
This show will twist your brain into a pretzel.
That does sound tasty.
The Irrational after The Voice, tonight on NBC. You will want more.
Ice cream cake?
No.
Then stay tuned for KSL 5 News at 10.
Tonight at 10 on KSL. Have you read your restaurant receipt lately? Fees for credit cards, staff appreciation, COVID upcharge. Bring in your own birthday cake charge.
It's getting pretty excessive.
That type of stuff's a little bit weird. Our surprise surcharges adding dollars and cents when you dine out.
I'm just not a big supporter of adding additional fees.
I'll show you what to watch for. Random restaurant fees, live and streaming tonight on KSL 5 News at 10.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart, and I have a question for you. You know that unwelcome guest everyone wishes would just leave already? That's COVID-19. That's why I got a COVID shot this season, designed for recent variants. Got it?
Learn more and schedule this season's updated COVID-19 shot at vaccines.gov.
Sponsored by Pfizer.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomis. First, Senator Mike Lee was the only member of Congress from Utah to vote against the bill to keep the government running. Second, a man who says he was trying to make a citizen's arrest is in trouble with the law himself for putting a teenager in a headlock. And third, former President Trump showed up in New York for the opening day of his civil trial. He's accused of defrauding banks and insurance companies by overstating the value of his assets. Right now, 53 degrees and cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
I've been thinking, I wonder if Representative John Curtis is going to run for Senator Mitt Romney's seat.
It's up there in the 9+ region.
Lindsay Aerts asked him, how would you rate it? And he said, what did he say? Up in the 9+?
On a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to run?
Lindsay.
This is what he said. Play the
Hold on,
clip.
now I got to re-cue
play
it up.
the clip.
Hang on. It's up there in the 9+ region.
Oh, he's going. I mean,
So-
if you're 9+ anything, I'm 9+ on, just about everything in my life.
Well, let me tell you this. At the start of our interview, I also asked him how likely we were to go into a government shutdown, and he said 9.8%, and he was wrong. So maybe we can't trust this rating
His scale's
system.
off. His scale's off. No.
Lindsay Aerts, our political reporter here at KSL News Radio, joining us in studio. We know that Brad Wilson, Speaker of the Utah House, is resigning his seat on November 15th. In the Utah legislature, not only as speaker, but also as representative there. He's running. We talked to him last week. He made the announcement last week. We also know that Trent Staggs, who's the mayor of Riverton, is running. What is taking Representative John Stewart from your conversation? What did you take away? What's taking him so long?
Well, I'm just going to correct you really quick. John Curtis.
John
'cause
Curtis.
You said,
I've
I
said
know,
Stewart twice.
I know. We always do this with Chris Stewart and
why
John
do I do
Curtis.
that?
And then John Stewart is actually a person. That would be cool if he was running for Senate, but it's not happening. But yes.
I just want him on the show
I
just,
know.
Once in a while. My bad. I keep doing that. It's
okay.
something I got to unwire in my brain.
No, it
I
happens.
did it last week, too.
Yeah, it happens.
John
all the time.
Curtis.
John Curtis is a 9 out of 10 on a scale of 1 to 10 on whether he's running. And in fact, I asked him what would make him not run. And his answer was really interesting to me because he said his director of state asked him that same question and asked him what would get you to not run at this point. And this is what he said.
My state director asked me that question, and my answer was, it's hard. And as I was speaking those words, I knew to myself how silly, that answer was. And if that's the only reason, that's keeping me from doing it, that's not a good reason not to do it.
So he said he was in his comfort zone in the House, right? We can all understand that as humans, right? Like you get offered a new job and you're like, I know I should take this new job and I want to, but it's going to be more work and it's going to be difficult. So that seems to be the mindset of where John Curtis is right now. He's like, all signs are sort of pointing that direction, and he just knows it's going to be a lot of work. But he also talked about wanting to, take his platform to a statewide level, not only on the policies that he's worked on, climate, energy, stuff like that. But also, he recently got some accolades for being the best at constituent outreach and stuff like that. So he touted those as something he wants to take on a statewide level. We also talked about some of the internal polling that his camp says he has, which shows him, he says, doing very well in head-to-head matchups and in three-way matchups. And it sounds like that polling, along with, some nudging in different areas, plus this desire to take his work statewide, is kind of what's pointing him in this direction.
Did he speak at all to the differences between legislating in the House versus the Senate and why it would be so appealing to legislate in the House instead? My mind immediately goes to, yeah, everyone wants to run for the Senate because it's only running every 6 years versus the House, which is running every 2.
Sure. Well, maybe there's some of that. We didn't talk about it specifically, but I think that message that he wants to take his platform statewide is really what interests him, right? Right now, he only represents a fourth of Utah. Yeah. And so he has large name ID because he's a sitting congressman, right? And so it would be an easy play for him to get into a statewide race where people already know his name. House Speaker Brad Wilson, while we all know his name in political circles, people in Layton know his name, House speakers don't typically have that broad reach, even while they have a lot of power in the House of Representatives. So it'll be interesting to see if John Curtis gets in this race. So far, these are the two major names, although there are some other names obviously in the race, and kind of what lanes they fill and how people view them.
What do we give up in the House if he does run for Senate? If he does run for Senate and he's successful, what do we give up? We give up experience, and he starts again as a freshman senator, although he has the experience in the House and the lay of the land in D.C.
Yeah,
but doesn't that just reboot? Doesn't he start at the bottom of the bat, just like any of them would?
A little bit, yeah.
Senator Romney is not seeking re-election. Any of them would start at the bottom.
Yeah, you could see it like that. So one, it'll open up a seat in House District 3, right? So we'll have an open congressional seat and an open Senate seat, right? Which would be really interesting, along with the presidential politics of 2024, right? So we're gearing up for a really intense political election season.
We have been playing little musical chairs in Utah.
But at the same time, I think you could also, if you're John Curtis, argue, listen, I'm already in the legislature. I'm already in Congress. I know how this process works. I hit the ground running in the Senate. Yeah. I have relationships in the House I've already made. I probably have relationships in the Senate I've already made, just by nature of having to get legislation passed.
I have a final little clip from John Curtis. He's talking about some of the reasons of why he would do this.
And if that's the only reason, right, that's keeping me from doing it, that's not a good reason not to do it.
And this was, saying, yeah, I do have this comfort zone. Mm-hmm. I have this comfort zone of where I'm at. I know what I'm doing. I have, but the thing to remember is if he would run for Senate, then he obviously, the election is happening in the same year. He would have to say, I am no longer running for the House. He wouldn't run it concurrently.
Right. Nope, he couldn't run for both seats at the same time. So that is the calculation for John Curtis.
Is strategic.
Yeah, I'm letting go of the House seat in order to run for the Senate. Do I think I can win? And not only for me, but for his staff. He takes his staff probably with him, and this impacts people's lives, not just his, right, to decide to run. So he did tell me he's continuing to have those conversations to make sure everyone is on board with it, and it's not just his ego, he says, wanting to push forward. But yeah, he has to give up his House seat. So the calculation is, if I lose that and I don't win the Senate, did I just shoot myself in the foot?
And he was extremely popular when he was reelected in 2022. He won with almost 65% of the vote. So it's a very safe seat in CD3. If he were to run again, it's almost guaranteed, outside of a big scandal, he would absolutely win. So there is a calculation here. The Senate, the statewide, it's not guaranteed, whereas his seat right now is almost a rubber stamp guarantee win.
And I think that's why you saw them do internal polling, right? Because they wanted to know, with the other names who have been rumored or who are already in the race, how does a John Curtis fare amongst those people? And they apparently liked what they saw. I haven't seen it, but they did.
Think about this from outside a campaign. Think about this from the constituents, the voters' point of view. We have to replace Chris Stewart in the weeks ahead, who resigned kind of unexpectedly.
Mm-hmm.
We may have to replace Representative John Curtis if he decides to run for Senate. And Senator Mitt Romney has made a decision. He is not going to seek a second term.
Right.
So,
but all of our congressional seats are up for re-election, right? So assuming Blake Moore and Representative Owens run again as well, they're incumbents. They'll have a likely, head start, right? But yes, we will do a little bit of musical chairs. Yes.
Around, you have these kind of, these people that have experience back in D.C., and we'll wait to see what happens. The intrigue is building. KSL News Radio's Lindsay Aerts, as always, thanks for bringing the hits this morning on a Monday morning about what could lie ahead for Representative John Curtis. Not Jon Stewart, not Chris Stewart. We're talking Representative John Curtis.
KSL FM Midvale, KSL Salt Lake City. Listen at home on any smart speaker and in your car at 102.7 FM. This is KSL News Radio, Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. The Wasatch Front will be getting a good amount of rain through tomorrow. National Weather Service meteorologist Sam Weber says the Wasatch Front, especially Salt Lake, Davis, and Weber counties, could see a half inch to an inch of rain, with highs today only in the mid-50s.
On average, we do start to see these more and more frequently as we head into, October. We are at the beginning of our water year, starting to kick off this water year in the right direction.
Utah's highest elevations also expecting to see some additional snow, but highs this weekend could rise back up into the mid-70s. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. A day of celebration at the University of Pennsylvania campus. Two of the school's scientists have won the Nobel Prize in Medicine for discoveries that enable the creation of the mRNA vaccines used against COVID-19. Dr. Drew Weissman was one of the winners.
I never expected my entire life to get the Nobel Prize, and it's an incredible honor. But no, I wasn't expecting it.
Dr. Catalin Carrico was the other winner. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down on the day, 240 points right now. The NASDAQ is up, though, by about 19 points. And our KSL weather, that rain is going to taper off. Things are going to dry out and clear up. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
We have enough people running around Broadcast House at 4 in the morning to field a football team.
Producers, reporters, the traffic team, and us.
This is Tim and Amanda.
Join us each morning from 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Have you Googled yourself lately? Are there negative posts from an ex-employee or from a former client? Maybe an outdated news article or sensitive personal information about your family? Search engines don't always get it right. For right or wrong, it's your reputation on the line. That's where Reputation Defender by Norton comes in. One of the most trusted names in online reputation repair, Reputation Defender has been fixing people's search results for over 15 years. Their cutting-edge approaches help you to wipe away unwanted information in your search results. They also promote the good stuff so that it rises to the top, helping you put your best foot forward. Your good name is too valuable to leave to the whims of a Google algorithm. Take control with Reputation Defender. You can start by getting your free reputation report card at reputationdefender.com or call 800-401-6681 to speak to an expert. That's 800-401-6681.
At Fisher Investments, we do things differently, and other money managers don't understand why.
Because our way works great for us.
But it may not work for your clients. That's why Fisher Investments is a fiduciary, obligated to put clients first. It's the highest standard for a financial advisor.
So, what do you provide? Cookie-cutter portfolios like the rest of us?
No cookie-cutter portfolios here. Fisher Investments tailors portfolios to meet each client's goals and needs.
But you do sell investments that earn you high commissions, right? And make commissions when you make trades for your clients?
No, Fisher Investments doesn't sell any commission investment products, and we never earn commissions on trades.
So what's in it for you?
Fisher Investments fees are structured so we do better when our clients do better. When it comes to helping clients achieve a comfortable retirement, we're clearly different. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments, clearly different money management.
Investments in securities involve the risk of loss.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Granite Credit Union's new Dividend Plus checking account. Here's Ricky Meese.
We do have a traffic light malfunctioning in the area of I-80 and State Street. Right now, I'm looking at a shot of State Street and 2100 South, and traffic is struggling to get through that area. Again, treat that as a four-way stop and definitely use caution. How do you know if you're getting the best deal on employee benefits? You don't, unless you get free quotes from every insurance company every year. Visit shopmyplan.com to get free quotes. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, cooler today, periods of showers into the afternoon. Snow in the very highest elevations, and then more showers tomorrow with dry and sunny weather moving in on Wednesday. And right now we're at 54 degrees with rain. I'm Dan Bomas, KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com, Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
David Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top national story.
The government shutdown was averted over the weekend, in case you were so busy watching the Kansas City Chiefs beat the Jets. They averted the shutdown. However, my co-host Dave Noriega feels like maybe a government shutdown would be a good thing for D.C. and for America. I'm on the fence on this one. He's going to try to sell it to us.
And I might be a little bit on the fence as well, because I don't want to forget that if there is a government shutdown, these are real people that are being affected. And I don't want in any way to minimize that. That being said, nothing has changed, and it hasn't changed for decades. Every time we reelect somebody, they go back to Washington, and what do they say? I'm going to get spending under control. I'm going to get spending under control. And then what happens? Nothing. They have not changed spending at all. So we're still spending money hand over fist, incredible deficit spending, which is all the money that we bring in taxes, $4.5–5 trillion. But we spend $6.5 or $7 trillion.
So you're saying it's just getting out of control. We've got nowhere to go but over a cliff.
Yeah, and this has been the case for a long time. Yeah. Deficit spending is just normal in Washington.
So if a government shutdown were to happen, we do know that from past shutdowns, past experiences, the longest one in recent history anyway, was 2018 to 2019, 35 days. I'm trying to remember the exact number of people who were furloughed, but these were federal government employees who basically were sent home and did not work. They eventually got paid, but they were not going to work. And I think it was 800,000 who were sent home during that. I'm going to look that number up. So what you're saying is sending those folks home for 30 days, even though it's heartburn for them and anxiety for them. Maybe it also puts some programs at risk, like WIC program. We don't know if all the moms and infants were going to be getting their funding, if it had gone on for longer than just a few weeks, if the government shutdown had happened. So you're saying short-term pain will produce long-term gain.
Yes, exactly. And I think when you go back to the longest shutdown in history, the 2018, 2019, this was kind of over the border wall. President Trump wanted funding for a border wall, and they just couldn't come to any kind of agreement, so they shut the government down. 35 days, Debbie. Now, this is what I ask our listeners. This is what I ask you. What were those 35 days like for you?
Yeah, Dave, I don't remember what I had for dinner last night. I don't remember.
Because it was unimpactful.
No, I do remember, though, I was working for the federal government when the 2013 shutdown was looming. I believe I was still there, and at least there was talk about it. And I know there had been, it was October, I just left the FBI and to come back to work for KSL5 TV. And the shutdown happens in October 1 through the 17th of 2013. And I do remember being scared. I mean, being afraid of just not getting a paycheck. Like, it's just not going to happen. And thankfully, we were in a position that with my husband, with his pay, we would have been okay for a while, but not for months and months, and I remember waking up sick to my stomach a few times. Now, I didn't leave because of that. I left for other reasons. But, yeah, 800,000 workers were impacted, federal workers. And it says here on this chart that it costs the federal government $2.1 billion. So it's not free to do a shutdown.
Right.
There's still money involved in shutting things down.
Yeah, you're not shutting down the government to save money. That is not why you're doing it.
In 2018, it's under 400,000 employees that were impacted, and that one cost the government $5 billion. And there's equal opportunity offenders here. Sometimes it's the Republicans who shut it down because of what they want in the budget, and they don't get it. And other times it's the Democrats who shut it down.
And right now, you could almost blame it, quote unquote, blame it on the Republicans, because the Republicans want to have massive spending cuts. That's what the push is. Now, you pointed out that latest shutdown in 2018, 2019 affected 400,000 people. Mm-hmm. But spending, out of control spending in Washington, I would argue, is affecting 320 million Americans. So because we don't want to inconvenience 400,000 Americans with the shutdown, we're willing to go along with this terrible spending in Washington. Nobody is willing to put their foot down and say, all right, let's shut down the government. Let's make everybody uncomfortable. Let's make this a pressure point so we can have a real conversation of what stays and what goes. Because ultimately, if you had both sides in the room, both sides are going to say the WIC program, the Women If It Children program, we are going to fund that because we value that. But we might be able to shave off some of this military spending. We may be able to shave off or change some of the Social Security issues or Medicare or whatever program is out there. I think we could have a real discussion about that. But we refuse to have that discussion unless there is a pressure point. So the argument I'm making is maybe the shutdown is that pressure point that we need to make real changes.
And what I can't get through with your argument is that there have been, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 government shutdowns since 1980. Now, in 1980, it was only the FTC. So that doesn't really count, the Federal Trade Commission. I don't know why that only affected the FTC. I was 13 years old in 1980, so I don't remember. One day. 1981, one day. 1984, 4 hours. 1986, 4 hours. But 1990, they start to amp things up. 3 days. 95, 5 days. Then in 95, 96, so they weren't happy with just the 5 days. They came back and did the 21-day shutdown. And then in 2013, we get to 16 days. Those have not fixed it. We're worse off now than we were way back in the day.
So for over 40 years, almost 50 years, we've had a number of shutdowns with a grand total of less than 60 days.
Yeah, well, probably.
So
how long do you want to keep the government shut down, Dave?
Well, until they actually sit down and make significant changes.
See, here's the problem with that, though. We rely heavily on federal funding in this state for a lot of programs that we just don't even take into account every day. I mean, our kids' school lunches are subsidized federally. We get federal funding for education. The law enforcement agencies that are federally funded work in the state of Utah solving crimes. I know because I worked for one of them for years, and when a child would go missing, the FBI would step in and go help find that child. And it's not just those cases. I mean, think about TSA. And we've all decided, Americans have decided after 9/11, we're not going to let that happen again. We're not just going to let terrorists buy tickets just before they fly, board a plane and get through security. We are going to have the most robust airline security in the world. So, and then what happens with food safety? The FDA and USDA inspections, we can't afford that. We're codependent. We're so codependent. We're so intertwined. We can't afford the federal government to just go on hiatus for 60 days or 90 days.
Sure we can. We just proved it in 2018 when it shut down for 35 days, and not one of us could mention or remember how that affected our daily lives.
But
we
you
just don't remember.
You didn't have a child kidnapped in that time when you were calling the FBI and they're like, hey, we're down resources because we sent a bunch of people home and they're considered non-essential. So, I'm not saying they're not going to investigate it. They are, but it's like you didn't have a situation. Like you weren't a farmer.
Yeah, that's not an everyday Tuesday occurrence, right? That's the most extreme of the
farmer looking for like a loan to keep his farm open. You're like me. You're just a guy or you're a gal going back and forth to work who generally gets by in life pretty easily. Like most days are pretty good days, even though we like to complain.
Yeah, my life doesn't revolve around the federal government.
You also don't qualify for WIC funding. You're not that mom looking over a dozen eggs and wondering if she can afford it for her toddler, or looking to buy infant formula.
Yeah, I'm not saying that there isn't value in government programs. I think what we need to do is make sure that we're keeping only the most essential. And we have proven time and time again, decade after decade after decade, that we will not curb funding. Republican or Democrat will not curb funding. But I think we all agree that we need to make sure that we're only investing in the most crucial, the most important programs. But we will not do it. We've proven we will not do it unless there's a pressure point. Where is that pressure point? And I say it's the government shutting down.
And Dujanovic.
Hey, stay right here for more of Dave and Dujanovic.
And tomorrow morning, come back here for news, traffic updates, and reliable weather.
Join us to have a listen. Tim and Amanda.
Your morning companions for news.
Here's one part of life that doesn't need pumpkin spice.
Pumpkin spice has quite a powerful political lobby.
Breaking news and fall weather updates are all the spice you need. Start with Utah's Morning News with Tim and Amanda from 5 to 9.
Good morning.
Then Dave and Dujanovic, Boyd Matheson, and Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News as you drive home. News, analysis, variety. The spice of life.
So good.
On KSL News Radio.
You've heard me talking for years about soft water. Now, some of you may be scratching your head thinking, I don't even know what soft water is. What's the difference between hard water and soft water? Well, if you have hard water, that is the default. Whatever water is coming into your home, that is the hard water. Unless it passes through a soft water system, you will have hard water, and you will see that on your dishes. So when you pull out your dishes and you see your glasses and they have hard water spots, those spots that are on your dishes, those are hard water spots. That is because you don't have a water softener. When your skin feels really dried out after a shower, it's because hard water can be very hard on your skin. You will see it when you're cleaning around your faucets and you see these hard water buildups. The hard water is all over the place. If you want to know the difference that soft water can make, give Connecticut of Utah a call. That's what I did. My wife and I called Connecticut and said, hey, will you come out, show us all the places where hard water is kind of ruining our lives? And we loved what they had to say. We love their product. It is so efficient. We get 24/7 soft water. All we have to do is throw a little rock salt, some pellets into the bin every couple of months, and we love our soft water. So give them a call, 801-576-8600. That's Connecticut of Utah, 801-576-8600, or check them out online at softwaterutah.com.
Fall is here, and the holidays are coming fast. Zero Res is running an early bird sale this week. Just $25 per room for carpet cleaning. Get your holiday cleaning done now and save big. That's 25% off the regular price. The Zero Res method stays cleaner longer, so enjoy a clean home now and still be ready come the holidays. It's the early bird sale because it ends on Tuesday the 3rd, so you're only saving if you're a true early bird. You don't have to clean today, but you have to get on the schedule during the sale. $25 per room, minimums apply, call for details. And if you want to save even more, ask them about their special discounts on pet odor treatments too. Nothing beats a professional cleaning, and no one outcleans Zero Res. The early bird sale at Zero Res. Just $25 a room. Minimums and area restrictions apply. Offer valid in Salt Lake, Utah, Davis, and Weber counties only. Schedule today. Online at ZeroRes.com.
The country's largest used RV show is back and better than ever. Come find the biggest used RV selection in years, October 5th through the 7th at the Shops at Southtown. We're bringing in a massive range of used RVs from 6 locations in 3 states for this event. Shop used travel trailers, fifth wheels, motorhomes, toy haulers, and more all on site. Plus, find even more used models online at countriesrvshow.com. You'll find used RV pricing starting as low as $10,000. Along with a huge selection of used RVs, find new RVs straight from the factory already discounted for fall. Plus, all remaining 2023s are at fall show pricing. Strike the best RV deal of the season with no payments until 2024 on approved credit. Not to mention huge trade-in offers on your current RV. And check out our Hunter's Corner just in time to kick off your hunting season. We'll also have consignment RVs at private sale prices backed by dealer support. Don't miss your best chance to extend your fall camping season during the country's largest used RV show. 3 days only, October 5th through the 7th at the Shops at Southtown. Open daily at 10 a.m. with free admission. Sponsored by Bish's RV.
Any Hour Services can help you make sure your furnace keeps you warm this winter. Whether you need a tune-up, a repair, or a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Boyd Matheson on the pitfalls of politics. If we want to be an informed news consumer, you have to differentiate between politics and policy. The politics usually is playing to the emotional space. Often we've been conditioned to react inappropriately to anger, fear, frustration, and so on. Policy is always about solutions. You may not agree with it in terms of the path to get there, but that's okay, because you can have a policy discussion based on principles. When you get to the politics, it's more about attacking the other side, demonizing or weaponizing the words of an opponent or someone that you disagree with, or just having contempt that the other side isn't just wrong, but they're wrong and evil. Policy never gets into that space. Policy is, here's a way to get a result. Here's a path to do it. You don't have to agree, but that path is always going to lead you to the best solution.
Join Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson, 1 to 3 on KSL News Radio.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, the Wasatch Front could get as much as half an inch of rain in the first days of October. Second, more Utahns losing Medicaid coverage compared to other states. And third, 2 scientists who helped to create the technology used in COVID vaccines have won the Nobel Prize for Medicine. Right now, 54 degrees with rain in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
I'm sitting here in studio with Dave, and I am trying to load a video of Jamal Bowman. He serves in the House of Representatives. He's a Democrat out of New York. And there's been widespread coverage of this guy. My goodness. This representative, this member of Congress, pulling the fire alarm on Saturday as they're scrambling to get to a vote to get the stopgap measure that kept the government open, voted on. And he's pulling a fire alarm. It looks like he's by an elevator or something.
Yeah, he's trying to get the doors locked, and he thinks, you know what, for whatever reason, he's claiming that he thought that pulling the fire alarm would open the door, but he pulled the fire alarm for no reason. Now, if you and I do this, and this is where I think the conversation goes, Debbie, I think, one of my pet peeves of pet peeves is the idea that you and I are held to one standard, and the rich and the powerful are held to a different standard. I hate that so much. It drives me crazy. Let's think. If you and I had pulled a fire alarm, do you think they would have been like, oh, it's okay?
Like as members of the media?
And we did it on purpose?
Yeah, we're sitting outside there and, waiting to cover the vote.
If you were late for a deadline and you're trying to run and you don't want to miss the press conference, and to make sure that you're on to the press conference on time, so you delay the press conference by pulling a fire alarm, what do you think would happen to you, Deb?
Well, think of it. It gets,
you would be fired, number one.
Right. I'd have a free ride to the back of a cop car.
Whether you were arrested or not, I guarantee you, the company, if you
free
pulled
meals,
you'd be gone.
So House Speaker Kevin McCarthy is actually saying he's under investigation for this and that is calling for him to be punished. We're talking right now about Jamal Bowman. He is a Democrat in New York. He's a representative back in the House of Representatives and caught on camera pulling a fire alarm. At first, when I first saw this story, by the way, it was back in the nation's capital. Which, okay, I've got lots of thoughts here. Let me tackle what would happen to you, Deb. I would be escorted somewhere, with bars.
It would be harsh.
Yeah. I'd probably have a booking photo, and I would hope that would be the case. Now I don't know all the details on this, but I would hope that'd be the case if it happened in the nation's capital. And it may even be the case if it happens here on Capitol Hill in Utah because of what happened back on January 6th when I think, the fears are escalated. Security is enhanced. They're working on a weekend. I'm not saying they don't normally work on a weekend, but they have to work on this weekend to get the budget figured out so the government doesn't shut down and funding starts to collapse for different government agencies. And all of a sudden an alarm sounds and everybody's got to be evacuated. So I think these circumstances are escalated in that it was now if the building had been empty on a Saturday and he was given a tour and they felt trapped or something and they couldn't get the elevator to work, I think that's a totally different scenario than what we're dealing with this weekend when this allegedly happened.
This is what he said. I want to be very clear. This was not me in any way trying to delay the vote.
That's what I first thought it was.
That he was trying to delay the vote. He said, but it was the exact opposite. I was trying to urgently get to the vote. Well, how's that any different? Like, you pulled the fire alarm because you were trying to get there. You were running late. He said, well, ultimately I got there. I got there, and it was good because we're trying to keep the government open. The problem is, again, you and I do this, massive consequences. If we're pulling, again, he's not saying I accidentally did it. He's not saying that, I tripped, stumble, fell, and when I reached to catch myself, my finger crossed, the fire alarm handle, and he went over. The pictures are clear. The video is clear. He reaches over, and he, on purpose, pulls the fire alarm, and nothing's going to happen.
He mistakenly thought that would open the door. So what happens to him now? I mean, there's quite a few members of Congress. I'll mention one. She's from our next door neighbor in Colorado. So she represents Colorado. She was caught on video and surveillance video at a theater, vaping when she said she wasn't, and video shows engaging in other what I would consider inappropriate behaviors in public. What's happened to her. I'm not trying to compare the two. I'm just saying, like, there's people in Congress who do things that are kind of messed up, right? They're messed up. So do we need to punish them all, or are there can we let this one slide?
Yeah,
I think. Just say, look, don't. Let's just put out a memo. It says just
don't pull fire alarms.
They don't open doors. Let's just make it clear. Let's do another little more security training for all our members of Congress and their staff, so they realize that is not going to work. That's not going to help you get out of the building, and in fact, it is going to create a mess. But then we just let it go.
Jamal Bowman, Representative Jamal Bowman, was a principal for 10 years.
Oh, at a school?
At a school.
How did you find that?
Yeah.
You looked at his LinkedIn profile?
Yeah. Doing a little research on this guy. He was a principal.
So does his excuse for doing it sound like he was trying to fill in the blanks later?
Oh,
go back and...
No question.
He pulled it.
Oh, yeah.
And then he came back with
history.
I just thought this would open the door.
Like you've never had an experience with a fire drill. Like it is so... Okay. I feel so offended that he thinks we're that dumb. Like, come on, man. We are not that dumb. Okay. You pulled it. You know what a fire alarm does. And trying to pretend like, oh, it just happened. I just happened to activate the fire alarm. I thought it would open this door.
At the end of the day, they all were able to gather and pass in the 11th hour, this stopgap spending bill that'll fund the government for the next 45 days. And we'll be right back in this place come mid-November, unless they work something out between now and then. So we thought the shutdown might happen yesterday. It didn't happen. It seems like we're okay for now, but just for a few weeks. We don't know if he's going to actually be punished for this at all. But
he will be.
But if I were him and I were punished, I would say, what about Boebert? What about her?
Yeah, but she
would totally use it. What's going on with her?
In America, in Utah, even if you pull a fire alarm without a good reason, without there genuinely being an emergency, you can be charged with disorderly conduct, disturbing the peace, fines, and jail time are a possibility. I'm not saying that's a guarantee, but let's stop pretending like this was just an accident. He knew what he was doing. And again, put yourself in this situation, whatever job you have. We're reporters, right? So if we are running late to a press conference and we're trying to get there on time before we run out and we pull a fire alarm so that we can get there on time.
I was at a big box store, totally unrelated. Sorry to go there, just to be quick. I was at a big box store not long ago. I could not find my way out of it. It gives you an idea of where I was at. I was in a maze that I could not find my way out of. I was looking for the cheese at the end of the maze. Like, you found your way out. Could not. Had to ask an employee, look, I'm stuck. I'm stuck in the kitchen section, and I walked out of here, and I ended up in the washcloth section, and I'm back in the kitchen section. Can you point me to an exit, please? And she's like, oh, just go through that door. And it wasn't the actual exit, the big glass doors. It was just like a side exit. I said, I just need to get to my car. I just need to get out of here.
Make sure you pull the fire alarm on the way out.
It literally said, if you walk through this door, a fire alarm will sound. And you know what I did? I didn't walk through the door.
Yeah.
I spent 10 more minutes wandering through this maze of a store to find my way out the main door because I didn't want to cause a stampede of shoppers with their Swedish meatballs running out of the store all at once.
It's 11:31 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour. A North Ogden man allegedly put a teenager in a chokehold and told police that he was trying to conduct a citizen's arrest. KSL News Radio's Peter Johnston has that story.
The suspect in this case is Michael Larson, a 57-year-old North Ogden man who told police he was trying to conduct a citizen's arrest. The person he was trying to detain is a teenager, and an arrest report says Larson confronted the boy over a broken street sign he'd picked up. That report says the boy put the sign back when Larson pushed him to the ground and put him in a chokehold. The teenager allegedly tried to call police, but the older man threw his phone away. Larson now faces 2 charges, 1 count of aggravated child abuse and another of interrupting a 911 call.
The teenager's not in the hospital, but he did walk away with scratches on his face and marks on his neck. Former Congressman Chris Stewart has been appointed as the chair of the Utah Aerospace and Defense Association. Stewart was an Air Force pilot before he served in Congress for a decade. The president of the association says Congressman Stewart has a unique perspective on the nation's defense strategy. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. California Governor Gavin Newsom has appointed a replacement for the late Senator Dianne Feinstein. ABC's Ike Ejachi is in Washington with more.
LaFonza Butler is a longtime activist and labor leader, and once sworn in, will be the only black woman serving in the U.S. Senate. She previously served as an advisor to Vice President Kamala Harris's presidential campaign. She also was the president of Emily's List, a political action committee that helps elect Democratic female candidates in favor of abortion rights to office. Butler could be sworn in as soon as Tuesday. Feinstein will lie in state at San Francisco City Hall before her service on Thursday. Ike Ejachi, ABC News, Washington.
Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down on the day 174 points, while the NASDAQ is up 30 points. And our KSL weather, the rain is going to taper off eventually. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:33.
Start your days with knowledgeable, friendly voices telling you about the latest news and weather out there.
Hi, this is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon
In the business of waking you up each morning from 5 to 9.
on KSL News Radio.
Held over due to popular demand. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to save 40 to 80% on a hot tub and swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to save 40 to 80% on a hot tub and swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Friday, noon to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 888-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandswimspasale.com.
I'm a big believer in investing into what the wealthiest people in the world invest into. But it's not easy to know exactly what that is, and it hasn't always been possible for regular folks like you and I. But that's changing. I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, and if you've done a good job acquiring some assets, now is the time to consider private equity. Private equity is ownership of private companies that aren't traded on the stock market and in most cases are very exclusive. Examples could include ownership of apartments or nursing homes, dental practices, solar farms, you name it. Why do so many billionaires invest into private equity? Because of historically low correlation to the stock market and historically higher returns. If you have a goal with your portfolio but aren't there yet, call Trajan Wealth today. Call 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600.
Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. May require accreditation.
As the weather turns colder, this is when you need to get those new windows. So call Advanced Window Products. They'll replace your single-pane, rickety old windows with stylish, state-of-the-art double-pane windows with precision frames. You pick the style and color. They're custom-made right here in Salt Lake City. This company is so Utah. It's run by two guys who grew up here, Jake Weber and Utes defensive star Nate Orchard, the mayor of Sacktown with 7 NFL seasons under his belt. Great guys, great company building high-quality windows for 37 years. Unlike other companies, they build the windows, they install the windows, and they guarantee them for life. No middleman. There's Jake, Nate, and their team, and there's you. Saving on the highest quality windows. Right now, before winter, get $2,000 off 10 windows or more, and they offer 60 months, 0% financing. So call Advanced Window Products now. You could have stylish new windows in 8 weeks. 801-850-9100. 801-850-9100 or visit advancedwindowsusa.com.
KSL has your tickets for Taylor. We're filling a megaplex theater full of Swifties, and we want you there. Listen for the keyword weekdays at 8:45, 11:45, and 3:45. Then text it to 57500 for your chance to win. Want a reminder? Text the word Taylor to 57500 and we'll alert you when the contest is about to start. Details and more chances to win at KSLNewsRadio.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Granite Credit Union's new Dividend Plus checking account. Here's Ricky Meese.
Rain in parts of the valley, and it's definitely slowing speeds along I-15 in spots between South Salt Lake, Murray, and Midvale. We also have traffic lights malfunctioning near the junction of I-80 State Street and 2100 South. Use caution there. You'll see a little bit of backup, and then a crash with possible injuries. It's in the intersection in South Jordan at 104th South, 1300 West. Looking for family seasonal fun? Visit This Is the Place Heritage Park's Little Haunts. Tricks, treats, crafts, witches, ponies, pumpkins, and more. Visit thisistheplace.org for hours and information. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, cooler today with periods of showers into the afternoon. We'll see snow in very high elevations. More showers tomorrow with dry and sunny weather moving in on Wednesday. And right now, 51 degrees, cloudy skies. I'm Dan Bomas, KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com. Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Have you ever heard of xeriscape in your lawn? I know from experience it can save you a lot of water. And KSL News Radio's Don Brinkerhoff, we sent him down the rabbit hole to find out more information about xeriscape and xeriscaping. It's with an X, xeriscaping, and what the benefits are. And I'm also wondering what the cost is for doing this.
Yeah, if you're wondering what xeriscaping is, it's ripping out the lawn, the grass, the turf, and replacing it with some sort of rocks or mulch and plants that are more native and not as intensely, that aren't requiring as much water. So transforming your lawn, that's called xeriscaping. And Debbie, you've done some of that in your yards in the past.
Yeah, like plants that need less water.
Yeah.
The issue I always had with it is I had these sprinklers that just shot over the top of the plants. So it's kind of a total package deal. My next goal would have been I really wanted to put in the
soakers.
Yeah, the soakers instead of the sprayers. This morning, KSL News Radio's Don Brinkerhoff brought us a story during Utah's Morning News about a woman in Midvale. Her name is Melinda, and she went with this Localscapes program to transform her yard. Let's listen to her story.
Melinda and her husband live in Midvale.
So there were a couple of things really that motivated us. First of all, the maintenance. My husband would spend 2 hours twice a week on a riding lawn mower out there mowing, doing all of the edging and all of the weed eating. And then the other factor was because we lived on a busy road and it was just this big flat lawn, we wanted to add some things that would provide more privacy.
She says in spite of their efforts, the yard was still ugly and full of weeds. So they put together a plan to change everything out and submitted it to the Localscapes program.
Your plan doesn't have to be super detailed, and you can certainly make adjustments to your plan along the way if you decide that you want to add more sitting area and less flower bed or more flower bed or whatever that looks like. So it just has to meet the basic requirements of the Localscapes program.
Melinda was worried the flower beds were going to take hours and hours to weed.
Before we did the project, we used to spend a couple of hours a week trying to keep up on the weeds, and we just couldn't do it. The problem is that we just didn't have the mulch on the beds. Once you put down that big, heavy layer of mulch, it really does such a great job of keeping the water in and keeping the weeds out. And I wish I had learned about mulch 30 years ago and not when I was 50. Because it's been such a time saver.
After switching out the lawn for more water-wise plants,
we're using less than half of the water we used to use. We used to water the lawn multiple times a week. Now I only water once a week, and it's on a drip irrigation system, so water only goes to the plants where I want it to go.
Probably the most ringing endorsement for the program.
Not only is it so much more interesting and beautiful, but now my husband and I spend so much more time out in our yard than we ever used to. And not out there weeding, but out there, sitting out there, enjoying the time, walking the gardens, and just enjoying the space. So it's been a game changer for us, and I'd do it again in a heartbeat.
Reporting from Melinda's home, I'm Don Brinkerhoff, KSL News Radio.
You know, Deb, when I hear stories like this, I think, maybe now's the time to do it, to make the transition. But I'll remember I looked into this when I re-landscaped my yard a few years ago. The problem was it was kind of expensive. It was way more expensive than grass. Grass was the cheapest option. So I decided to go with the cheapest option. I realize now it was not water friendly. I get it. It's Kentucky bluegrass, but it was by far the most affordable way to do the lawn myself.
Savannah Peterson, the coordinator of the Flip Your Strip and Localscapes programs for the Central Utah Water Conservancy District. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I just wonder, can people get reimbursed or some sort of a rebate for doing what Melinda and her husband did to their yard in Midvale?
Absolutely. So Melinda participated in the Localscapes program. We have since updated our program. It is now called the Landscape Incentive Program. A little less punchy name, but it comes with a lot more money behind it. So the incentive has gone up. The requirements have shifted a little bit to make it more accessible. So that is one good way to take the edge off. If you live in a qualifying city, look into those programs.
So how does it work? I heard her as she was describing it that she had to put forth a plan to the program. What does that look like practically?
Absolutely. So first step for people interested in applying is to take one of the classes we offer. They're free. They're available online or in person, and they usually take about an hour. You can watch them at your own pace. But they teach you all of the landscaping principles that we want people to understand moving into this new kind of landscape. They also teach the program requirements to make sure that you are getting the money you're looking for. And then once you have once you've taken the class, you drop your plan. Like Melinda said, it doesn't need to be very complicated. Just something to show us that you understand the program requirements and you understand what you're getting yourself into. And then you can apply for these programs on UtahWaterSavers.com. Our staff will come out for a visit to measure the grass that you have in place right now. And we'll, it's a good opportunity to ask any questions in person, show us your landscape and say, what should I do here? And we'll give you some pointers. And then you do the job, and we come back later when it's done.
Double check. Savannah, before we let you go, you said the website, UtahWaterSavers.com. What are people looking at in terms of a rebate, just a general range?
It depends so much, but per square foot, you can expect 50 cents if it's a new construction. There's nothing in place. And then if you're removing lawn, anywhere from $2 to $3 per square foot of lawn removed.
Well, we appreciate you joining us, Savannah Peterson, the coordinator of Flip Your Strip and Local Escapes program. What was it? Landscape
Landscape Incentive Program.
Okay,
yes.
The Landscape Incentive Program. Thank you for joining us from the
Perfect.
Central
Thank you
Utah
so much.
Water.
Now, Dave just went with an electric vehicle. So you're making one step to help the environment, a big step. You took a huge, giant leap this weekend. I actually saw you driving around the parking lot. When my first word was like, oh, it's cute. I literally said that to him. I thought, that's probably the worst thing I could say. That looks like a muscle car. Wow, Dave, awesome.
That's a very brave and tough car there, Dave.
Are you thinking about looking into these rebates if you decided to rip your lawn out?
Yeah, no question. I tell you, the incentive programs take away some of the sting. I don't mind investing some, but when you're ripping out sod and you're totally re-landscaping, the work is one thing, but to have to do all the work and then have to bear all the financial burden as well, it makes it easier, no question.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Did you know Utah has just one all-news station in the morning?
It's this one. Weekday mornings between 5 and 9.
Start your days with us. We're Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
Your morning companions for news.
So you know when something's so great you immediately want more?
Yes, ice cream cake.
No, I was thinking tonight on NBC.
No cake.
First, it's The Voice with Gwen Stefani, John Legend, Niall Horan, and
new coach Reba McEntire. Yes!
Then it's The Irrational starring Jesse L. Martin.
Ooh, from Law & Order.
This show will twist your brain into a pretzel.
That does sound tasty.
The Irrational after The Voice, tonight on NBC. You will want more.
Ice cream cake?
No.
Then stay tuned for KSL 5 News at 10.
Tonight at 10 on KSL.
Have you read your restaurant receipt lately?
Fees for credit cards, staff appreciation, COVID upcharge.
Bring in your own birthday cake charge?
It's getting pretty excessive.
That type of stuff's a little bit weird.
Our surprise surcharges adding dollars and cents when you dine out.
I'm just not a big supporter of adding additional fees. I'll show you what to watch for.
Random restaurant fees, live and streaming tonight on KSL 5 News at 10.
They say good things come to those who wait. But this October, better things come to those who act now. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and October is the best month to replace your old furnace and air conditioner if you're trying to beat the winter rush. You see, we've structured our pre-season savings so that the sooner you buy, the more you save. Through the end of October, when you have Any Hour Services install your new furnace and air conditioner, you'll save $2,500 off any new system you choose. And that doesn't even factor in the rebates and incentives you might qualify for. All you have to do to get this deal is get a hold of Any Hour Services before the end of October and schedule a free estimate. After we show you what options are available, pick the system that best meets your needs, and we'll take $2,500 off. If you wait until November to call, you'll still save, but not as much. So if you want to save $2,500 off a new furnace and air conditioner, you need to call Any Hour Services before the end of October and schedule a free estimate. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Are you a victim of the timeshare trap and think there's no way out? I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, the original timeshare cancellation expert. And I'm here to tell you that there is a way out. All you need to do is give my office a call. I will send you a timeshare exit information kit absolutely free, explaining how the timeshare industry works and your options for cancellation.
Call now for your free info kit. 800-961-5544. 800-961-5544.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. At $36.5 billion in assets, MidFirst Bank is the largest privately owned bank in the nation as of June. And this combination of size and private ownership provides its customers with a special brand of banking. Utah market executive Chris Tillich joins us with more.
With 36 consecutive years of profitability, MidFirst Bank has a long history of managing interest rate risk and hedging against it. Our highly diversified model, along with significant amount of liquidity, provides strength and stability. MidFirst Bank offers a full range of commercial, trust, private banking, and mortgage banking products and services. It also is part of the Midland Group, which is one of the largest mortgage service providers in the country. While our portfolio of services competes with those of larger banks, our people and culture truly make all the difference. MidFirst Bank provides exceptional financial and deeply committed customer service. No matter the location, MidFirst Bank customers can always count on working with thoughtful, intelligent, honest professionals who are true to their financial goals. Additionally, MidFirst Bank is a strong supporter of the communities we serve, investing time and money in important educational, charitable, and civic organizations.
MidFirst Bank competes effectively with larger banks in terms of products and services, but also provides customers the service and flexibility of a community bank. For more information, visit the MidFirst Bank website. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, a man who put a teenager in a chokehold says he was making a citizen's arrest. The police are calling it aggravated assault. Second, California's governor has appointed a replacement for the late Senator Dianne Feinstein to serve out the rest of her term. And third, former Congressman Chris Stewart has a new job as head of an aerospace trade association. Right now, 51 degrees and cloudy in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
You know what that sound means, Dave?
Taylor.
It's time for tickets for Taylor.
Yeah, that's right. We're giving away tickets to a private KSL screening of the Taylor Swift Eras Tour movie.
And if you want to be our 11:45 a.m. winner, which is just a little bit after 11:45, all you need to do, pull out your phone right now if it's safe to do so.
Like right now?
Yeah. And text this keyword. And here's where you're going to text it to. 57500. The keyword is lover.
Lover.
Lover. Lover. To 57500.
And be sure to tune into Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News at 3:45 for your next chance to win. We're giving out keywords 3 times a day. Remember, ours is lover.
And we're doing this for the next several days. So keep it right here. If you don't win, it's okay. There's plenty of chances to win. You're going to find all the details plus additional chances to win. That's right. I said there's even more chances to win. All you need to do is go to our website. You know what our website is, right? It's KSLnewsradio.com.
Tickets for Taylor.
Yeah, KSLnewsradio.com. Good luck. Can't wait to hear who wins. We'll keep you posted on this. But again, every day, 8:45, 11:35, 11:45. We're doing 11:45.
11:45.
Yeah, 11:45 and 3:35 for the next. And the screening is on October 20th. So, and it's going to be, I've got the information right here. It's going to be at Jordan Commons in Sandy. So it is the Taylor Swift Era Tours movie. It's the movie, which will be huge. On Friday, October 20th is the day we're doing the screening. Dave wanted to round out this amazing show on this incredible Monday by talking about a cell phone ban in schools, but not in Utah. So, sorry, parents, can't help you out there. You're going to have to do the dirty work for yourself and tell your kid they can't use their cell phone in school. It's in the United Kingdom. They're banning mobile phones from classrooms there. First thoughts, Dave.
First of all, I think this is kind of funny that this is even a discussion. They are so distracting. They are such a constant, ubiquitous thing in classrooms. Every single kid has a phone, and they're all looking at it. They're distracted from their lessons, and they're texting their friends, and we, the parents, are texting our children during school time hours. And we just kind of go along with it, and we're totally fine with it because we love convenience. And we'll sacrifice learning for convenience.
They actually say some schools are already doing this with students required to hand in their phones each morning, but it sounds like it's going to get even broader there. Or here's the punishment: detention if they're caught using them. Parents are going to have to get on board with this because you know what it's like when you text your child in all caps. They feel like they have to text you back right away. And so you're putting pressure on your kid. My kids said this to me many times, like especially after they graduated, and they did regular roasts of me. I was like the subject of roast, like the things you see on television. No, that was me. Dinner table time. And we'd all laugh, and it's true. They'd say, "Oh, you know, when Mom, you text us, call me." Well, what are I supposed to do? They're in fourth period,
right?
And they knew that they needed to call me right away, right? They felt like somebody's in trouble. It's probably them.
Yeah.
So I would text, "Call me," and it was in all caps.
And it's not necessarily,
so
hey, when you have a minute,
no,
give me a call.
No, you need to resolve the issue. It's like whack-a-mole, right? You're just resolving the issue because you got 3 kids and a million things going on all day, and you got to get to the bottom of why you got an email from a teacher that said whatever it said. Okay, so punishment, though, is detention. Oh, I'd feel horrible if I had gotten my kid 30 extra minutes at school. So I had a little extra time in my afternoon. But yeah, I would feel bad if they got punished.
You would sabotage them.
Is that all it is?
That's all it is.
I could use the break. Come on. Who hasn't thought that?
Yeah, and I think it's the UK has moved on this. They're banning phones in schools. It's something that we just for some reason cannot handle here. We've tried even to pass some sort of legislation in Utah classrooms, and for some reason, and I'd like to pick your brain why you think this has not gained any traction.
So Trevor Lee, representative here in Utah, we've had him on the air. He tried this, right? He tried this. He's like, let's start with keeping cell phones like at the back of the class in a cubby or something like that.
Essentially what my bill is if you are in elementary school, there should be a cubby or some type of holster for phones that when you walk into the classroom for the day, you have to put your phone up and there it remains until the end of class. So for middle school and high school, it would be a cubby for every classroom. As you go into the class, you deposit your phone there, and then when class is over, you pick it up and you leave. Pretty simple. The bill's not very big, but it gives the power to the districts to enforce this. And also there are obviously exceptions for medical use. And if they're going to use it for classroom time, the teacher has that discretion as well.
So it didn't go anywhere, though.
Yeah. Why do you think we didn't
Control. Parents want control all the time over their kids, but we do want to send them to school because most of us do send them to school, but we want, since the invention of cell phones, we've forgotten what it was like when we were going to school and there were not cell phones. Now, maybe some of you are like, well, there were cell phones when I was in school, Debbie, because I'm not as old as you, but we got by just fine. We just carried a dime or a quarter in our pocket to call home in case of an emergency, or we went to the front office and made the phone call. Once in a while, I made it from like the teacher's meeting room, when there was something I'd forgotten, or one time I broke my finger at school and I called from a phone that
you can call from the office.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So I think parents are too afraid to give up control.
I do believe that they're not going anywhere. Phones aren't going anywhere. The technology, cat is out of the bag. We are going to use technology. We have to learn to use it appropriately. That I 100% believe. That does not mean that we need to have access to technology at all times and in all places. And there are times during the school day where if it is not part of a teacher's curriculum, there is no reason for them to have a phone out. And if there is an emergency, there are 1,000 different ways you can get a hold of your child. Old school, just call the school. The school has an intercom system. They can reach out immediately. But we just hate not having the convenience of reaching our kids at all times. And parents, you can say, if your kid is using it for medical reasons, we're not talking to you. If your kid has, serious issues and they need to have this contact, no problem. We're not talking about you. We're talking about the 99% of the time when kids are not required or don't need it for a value or
what do you
a
tell
real
your
reason.
Kids about cell phone use? I'm assuming your kids have cell phones.
Of course, yeah.
Cell phones. What do you tell them? What's your rule? What's your dad rule?
There's no rule.
Oh.
I just assume that they're using it appropriately. I just assume it. We haven't talked about it.
I have good kids.
No, if a teacher, I'll tell you this. If a teacher took away their phone, I would 100% support the teacher. Like, basically, whatever the reason is, I'd be like, well, you shouldn't have been on it then. Huh? You probably deserve to have it taken away from you. I immediately give the benefit of the doubt to the teacher. I'll tell you that.
Oh, okay. But conversation with your kid might help so they don't get their phone taken away.
If they can't figure that one out on their own, I'm done parenting.
I can't wait till you
I'm done
teach your
parenting the teenagers.
Teach your kids how to drive. Hey, Maria's got an important development on a story regarding the Utah Department of Transportation releasing plans